Paraproject family, how's it going now? We are on episode 900, 100 away from 1,000, thanks to you guys, with Kelly and Juliet Starrett. They're talking on this podcast about their new book, Built to Move, and you're going to have a lot of actionable takeaways from how you can move better, feel better, and do this daily without the need of a gym. So share this with a friend, utilize the stuff in this episode. And I also want to say thank you because you guys have been giving us 5-star reviews on Apple and on Spotify. We're almost at 2,000 on Spotify, and the reviews have just been pouring in, and that helps the podcast grow. So if you haven't yet, if you're listening to this podcast on Apple or Spotify, leave a review for us. Let us know how you're liking the podcast, how it's helped you out, because that helps us out. And if you're on YouTube, like the video and enjoy the episode.
All the cameras that they have, Jack?
Yes, I see that.
A couple.
We got to make sure we get every angle. Where's your book? Do you actually have a book here? We don't have a physical book?
Didn't we send you one?
God damn it.
Should we have brought one today?
You don't have one?
No.
We didn't bring one.
I literally was like, I think I sent one to Mark. Didn't I send one to you?
I never got one.
I sent one to you.
Graham Tuttle has one, though.
Graham has it?
Yeah, Graham.
Oh, Graham.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the barefoot sprinter took it.
Wait, he took the book.
I don't know, he didn't take it from here. I think I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Do we need to do this on a different day with this book?
Is it currently for sale?
Not yet. Not till April 4th.
Huh.
Oh.
You're like, hey, do you have a book? I literally thought you already had one.
Me?
You're on some list.
Oh. Am I?
You are on some list.
You're on some list that was
It has
supposed to
nothing to
get
do
one.
with a book, but you're on some
list.
Yeah. I don't know.
You were supposed to be on 2 lists.
Maybe that's why I'm not mobile.
Well, do you
Maybe
think
I
we
never
can-
got the first book.
Do you think we can just
But I
talk
think
about
it's
it
right
anyway
here.
without it?
No.
We can't leave.
Yes.
We cannot leave.
The supple
We're
leopard's
not
right
coming
there.
back. And I saw Deathbound was over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
we got some stuff. We've been trying to figure it out.
It shows, though, that, Mr. Miyagi said it, literally laid it out a long time ago. He meets Don Yasani, he's fixing the sink, and he's like, oh, learn mobility from book? He was like, oh, that's not going to work. And here we are.
And here we are. All right, well let's knock this part out because we haven't had you on the show before. I don't think
I was
it was
on
a long time ago.
in 2013 at your dining room table. Do you remember that?
I do not remember that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it happened. I was on it, and it was at your dining room table.
The syphilis
Was this
has
a
eaten my
dream?
brain.
Was this a dream?
That just slipped through.
I mean, I don't think I'm mistaken. I think it did happen.
Was it on the same day that you stole my gum?
That was a different day,
Oh, okay.
but I was already planning on stealing it again today.
Well, how did this book come to be that you guys are putting out pretty soon? And hopefully we'll receive one of these days.
That might be nice.
Yeah, how did it come to be? Because I know you guys have been in business together, been married for a long time, and there's a long ass story behind all of it. But how did you guys kind of marry your ideas together? Because I know that behind the scenes, you've been coaching him the whole time because he would get doctory, and then you would be like, nope, no one knows what you're talking about, no one cares. Then he would get doctory again, you'd tell him again, and then
She's not behind the scenes. She is the scene.
So,
there you
I
go.
mean, the main reason that I'm involved in this book is just to spread the word that I'm not Kelly's secretary. No, just kidding.
Ooh,
Just
snap.
kidding. I'll take a crack at answering that question. I mean, we obviously put out Supple Leopard in 2013. And
10 years ago,
10
April.
years ago. So it's like literally 10 years ago in a month, and then a second edition. And
That's
then
great.
Since that time, we've put out a couple other books, including our book Deathbound. But in that time, we've gotten 10 years older. And I think our own interest.
that laugh makes me think 20 years older.
20 years older.
Feeling 20 years older.
I think our own interests and what we've cared about has really changed, as has yours, obviously. And one of the things that we've seen is that we feel like the fitness industry has lost sight of what it is we're trying to do. And hopefully what we're trying to do is help people get better, faster, stronger, more healthy, feel better in their bodies, have less pain. And I think instead what we've done is fire hose people with information on Instagram about shredded abs and which diet you should follow. And what we see in our own community is that people are totally confused about what to do now. What we've done in our business is we've made ourselves, and those, I would say ourselves are like all of us and those people who are really into health and fitness, like we're like in a little vertical. We've made ourselves better, faster. We track everything. We're super optimized, but we've really like left regular people behind. And we really started seeing that because while we live and breathe in this health and fitness space, we're also parents of 2 kids, and we live in this suburban community in Marin County. And most of our friends there are not in the health and fitness business at all. They're like busy people trying to raise kids and go to busy jobs and figuring out. But what they all share is they want to be healthy. They don't want to be in pain. They want to feel good in their bodies.
Let me translate that. They want to be less gross.
They want to be less gross. They want to feel good in their bodies, and they want to feel good as they age, and they want to be able to do the things with their bodies that they want to be able to do. And whether that's hiking or mountain biking or just playing with their grandkids, like they just want to be able to use their body for whatever it is they want to do. And we are always approached in our community with questions of, should I intermittent fast? What should I do here? What diet should I follow? I know I should exercise, but what exercise and how much and how often and how much should I lift? And what we saw was this like universal amount of confusion among basically everybody who's not really deep in our space. And so we started saying, okay, how can we approach this? How can we write a book that helps people manage their own pain, gives them simple tactics to take care of their body, include some really simple lifestyle tests, and then actually make it objective. So every chapter is a test, an objective test that people can measure whether they, and we're not giving people like an A or an F, but it basically gives you a benchmark and some information. Some vital signs about where you are as a human. And it's comprehensive. It has nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, breathing, balance, mobility work, exercise. And it's our way of saying, hey, this is the one book that you could read if you're a really busy person who cares about the things I mentioned before about being healthy. And if you do these 10 things, like, you're pretty good. Like, you're going to be pretty good as a human, and you're going to feel good in your body. And so I think it was that group that we really wanted to approach with this. And I know you've done a ton of that, Mark. I mean, like, you're the everyman's coach or the people's coach. And I think you've really tried and done a good job of trying to bring people along on the journey with you. And like, it's one of the things
They get mad though.
They do get mad, but I think you've really tried to say, look, here's what I'm doing, and here's what works for me. And so really these 10 chapters, 10 vital signs, 10 benchmarks that we've put together are the things that we do in our own lives. And we've tried to figure out a way to make it accessible to people. Like, not only these are the things we do, but these are when we do them and how we fit them into our crazy busy life. Because contrary to what a lot of people may think, like, we basically get our kids ready for school in the morning and then sit in front of a computer all day. Like, we are not meal prepping for 4 hours and taking 5 hours in our sauna and ice bath and exercising for 5 hours and doing all that on Instagram. Like, that's not what our life looks like at all. Like, our life really looks like a normal person's life. And so we really just wanted to take a crack at saying, how can we, cast a way bigger net here and let people in a little bit on what we're thinking and how to do it.
And look, last 10 years particularly, we spent a lot of time in some very crazy environments. We're invited behind the scenes of a lot of elite groups, world-class teams who are showing us, hey, we have these problems, help us untangle this and help people become more durable. So what's interesting is that we have really always, and you've heard me say this before, sport is our way of understanding what is essential to be humans. And what we've felt like is that sport is this great laboratory to really understand inputs and outputs, nutrition, fueling, recovery, all of those things, even how we manage pain. A lot of that stuff has come out of how we help athletes manage this in sport. But if we don't actually take those lessons from sport and transfer them to society, then that sport is just entertainment. Like, it's gladiators and we'll throw the bodies away. But we think the highest calling of sport is actually transform communities. And these 10 essentials have ended up becoming the base camp behaviors that we use with our elite athletes. Then we can look at nutrition and fueling even differently, or exercise or game readiness. But these are the things that you need to do if you want to be elite, to cover your basis. And it turns out the same side of that coin is, if you're not an exerciser or not into diet culture, that's cool. You've got to do some care and feeding of your body if you're going to be 100 years old and durable.
Yeah, I think so much of it comes down to like stress management. And so if you have things that are simple that people can actually follow, even that in and of itself can be less stressful, because it's not, a 4-hour gym session or whatever it might be. What are some of the suggestions? I know you guys are big into walking, as I am into walking as well, but what are some other suggestions you guys have?
Well, I have to just say a couple things about walking because I'm obsessed with walking. And, speaking of our friend Hugh.
Can I have your arms if I can walk?
Yeah, you can have these arms.
Thanks.
Just, 30 years later. As we all know, our friend Huberman is really big on...
Huberman said
that you should get some sunlight on your body. So that's one of the 1,000 reasons why I'm such a fan of walking is that you actually get outside, you get some sun on your body, you get a bunch of non-exercise activity and additional movement in your day. You decongest your tissues. So if you've done something athletic, it's going to, help you recover from that and feel better. And I think the other piece, speaking of people being depressed, is, I think the pandemic really exacerbated this, but people are not doing well. Like people are stressed, kids are stressed, people feel lonely. There's a huge spike in depression and mental illness.
When I tell people to walk, I get pictures or like a little video of them and they're on a treadmill. And I'm like,
yeah, it's a little
please
lonely.
Go outside and please see some people and please see the sun.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's, exactly. It's the perfect opportunity to connect with your friends or your family or take a walk with your older parent or whatever. So, and that's not to mention the fact that there's a crap ton of data that shows that the more you walk every day, the longer you're going to live, the better you're going to feel, and the fewer chronic illnesses you're going to suffer. So, literally, I'm obsessed with walking. I think it's the coolest thing ever, and it's really hard to make it sexy on Instagram. But if anyone can do it, it's you, Mark Bell.
I'm trying to strut out there.
I think one of the things that we end up seeing a lot of is that people, are like, oh, diet by itself. But one of the greatest performance hacks that we have, performance boosters for high performance environments, is I tell people to sit down and have dinner together or lunch together. All of the best groups in the world usually eat one meal together a day on teams, at least one meal, and at the very least, or most are eating every meal, at the very least one meal a week. And so there's something more to nutrition than just me having my perfect macros out there. Like we're sharing, we're interacting, and the research is super clear about kids who sit down with their parents and have dinner. They feel less stress. There's more they have better agency. There's better communication in the family. So that's highlighting the fact that there's no one aspect of these systems that works by itself. And as Juliet's pointing out about walking, if you have chronic pain and persistent pain, one of the ways you can access your neuroplasticity, as Huberman says, is actually walking fast in the environment is a really simple way to turn on those mechanisms for rewiring your brain. Just walk a little faster, your brain's like, what's going on? Are we being chased? Well, I need to pay attention. So as Juliet points out, there are so many bottom lines. The thing to do is to walk. If you want to have a better society and community, we believe in this idea of this hyperlocality. We think that the functional unit in the world is the household. The people you live with are the people that you're responsible for saving and taking care of. And then the next sort of valence out there is your neighbors. And even just walking down the street with your white dog being like, hey, what's up? You suddenly are interacting with people in a neighborhood that makes a society that makes you feel like you're in a safe place. Then add in all the other physiology, and it turns out you end up sleeping better because you actually accumulated enough non-exercise activity to fall asleep. So Juliet points out that you can come at this any way you want. The real thing is, are you walking enough or not? And what we're trying to do with these vital signs is to help people have benchmarks where they can find out where they are. It's not that 10,000 is good, 8,000 is bad. It's that what we found out was, hey, if you're below this, maybe you need to pay attention to it. If you're getting it, you're probably good.
What's the below and what's the what are some benchmarks, if we're any?
So, for walking, we say 8,000 to 12,000 steps. And, obviously everybody knows get your 10,000 steps. That was actually a marketing ploy by a Japanese pedometer company in the 60s. Huh. The 10,000 steps at that time wasn't really supported by any data. It was just a marketing thing.
Well, bonsai, maybe last 10,000 years.
Yeah,
that's what that's about.
Since that time, a bunch of data has filled back in to, show all the things I said earlier, which is, the more you walk, the better. Honestly, that's the data. But the average American walks around 3,000 steps a day. And we read some research that people can realistically walk about 8,000 steps a day. So we weren't going to choose 10,000 steps because one of the things we wanted to get done in this book was actually create these benchmarks and create practices for people that they could actually do realistically. Yeah. And so if we said 10,000 steps, what we were worried about is that everyone would say, well, I can't get 10,000 steps, so I'm not even going to try at all. versus, okay, going from, 3,000 to 8,000 steps is maybe 2 20-minute walks or 2, 25-minute walks a day. I can actually get that. I can do that as a post-meal walk, and that's actually doable. So, that was our thinking there. Obviously the research shows, the more the better. So, if someone's out there motivated to get 16,000 steps, like, more power to them.
But check this out. We worked with some elite military units. I mean, like the badasses of the badasses. And one of the things that we discovered working with some of these teams and groups is that when they have men who can't sleep, men and women can't sleep, the first thing they do is make them walk more. So here we have all of the resources of the Army aimed at the tier 1 military groups of the Army. And the application is, you're having a hard time sleeping? We're going to have you walk 15,000 steps and we're going to track it so that you can't be like, yeah, I walked a little bit. I don't know. Like we, as you heard me say earlier, we believe in these objective measures, and our objective measures are range of motion, biomotor output. So when we saw in the pandemic that people got really comfortable with increased vital signs, we were like, well, let's expand the concept of vital signs. Let's create some benchmarks and vital signs for people in some areas of their life to help them know, like 120 over 80 isn't good blood pressure. It's not bad blood pressure. It's just average. And if you're, above that, you're like, ooh, I should pay attention to that, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're below that, you're like, hey, I'm doing okay. So let's do that with some other aspects and quantify objectively some of these other features of your life.
Well, and one other thing I want to add about walking is if we have a client or patient come in to see Kelly with low back pain, he does 2 things. He works with them on their breathing mechanics. That's number 1. And then he tells them to walk more.
That may be 10, 30-second walks.
That may be 10,
around
30
their
second
kitchen island. That's what we get, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's also, we've also used it in the physical therapy, side of our life as restorative care for people with low back pain.
Power Project family, your normal shoes are making you weak. This is why we partner with Vivo Barefoot Shoes, because they have a wide toe box, they're flat, and they're flexible. So with every single step you're taking, if you're taking a 10-minute walk outside, or when you're working out in the gym, your feet are able to do what they're supposed to do in this shoe. They have tons of options for hiking, running, training in the gym, chilling and relaxing, casual shoes for if you're out on a date. You need to check them out. And Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject, and you guys will receive 15% off your order automatically. Again, vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that there's like almost something like inside the human will that desires like X amount of movement per day, X amount of like steps, like without a pedometer? Like, do you think there's something like hardwired into the body that requires like X amount of movement? And then even maybe on top of that, do you think there's something that's hardwired into the body that if you don't do it periodically, get your heart to race and these things, that's just like really detrimental to us?
Well, I think you can start from one side of this by saying, how do you circulate your lymphatic system? Your lymphatic system is your sewage system of your body. So you have the circulatory system everyone's heard of. Let me introduce you to your lymphatic system. All of the protein waste, broken cellular material, all of that stuff that can't go out through your capillaries goes out through the lymph. And so if you've ever had a blister, that's lymph. So you have miles and miles of lymphatic drainage in your body. And that lymphatic tissue is flushed through muscle contraction. If you've ever flown on an airplane and had cankles, you're like, whoa, cankles.
Didn't Mark invent the term cankles?
He may have. It was neat to
trademark.
Yeah. And Circle C. And
it's a sexy thing.
Having
the knee go straight down. It's a great look.
Everyone loves
healthy.
That. Yeah. It just makes it so your shoe is nothing's going to get into your shoe. That is a great.
Oh yeah, you never get a pebble in your shoe. I never thought of that. Maybe that's a defense mechanism.
So that's a great indicator that you're not contracting your calves and hamstrings and quads enough to pump up the fluids, and they're actually catching in your feet. So there is a certain amount of movement that needs to happen so that you can flush out your lymphatics. And that means that there is some kind of movement that needs to happen. I think the issue is that our livelihoods and how we just lived and operate in our communities used to require a whole bunch more movement. So some of that was just built into our day. You got up and down off the ground. You had to walk and toilet. You had to get resources and bring them back. You just had to walk to places a little bit more. So how cool that our bodies bootstrapped the lymphatic system into our movement system. So if we're going to flush the toilets, we might as well do something we're doing anyway, which is walking. What we know also is that there's huge genetic differences in drive to move. So if you look at David Epstein's book, The Sports Gene, he talks about a group of mice that they discovered. Some mice were running 1 mile a day. Some mice were running 3 miles a day. They started breeding the 3-mile mice. They had mice that ran 10 miles a day. And then they gave them Ritalin, and they ran 1 mile a day. So I think, we know that like our daughter Georgia.
Oh, wait, I was going to tell that story.
Tell it.
Well, I was going to say reason number 9,999 why our children will probably need therapy in their 20s. But of course, we have extensively genetically tested them for all genetic markers of
We didn't
human
know what we're working
performance,
with.
and we knew
Whose fault is it?
We knew the answers when they were like 9 years old. No, I'll let Kelly really tell this. But one of the things we learned about our daughter Georgia is that she has a low genetic drive to move, which is something we actually saw. Like her default is to like bake cookies and watch cooking shows. Like that's what she kind of defaults to want to do. And once we actually learned that, we realized that like she's a kid who needs to be pushed to move a little bit and to learn how to enjoy the feeling of movement, because what we would see is we would send her to volleyball practice or swim team or whatever, and she actually loved it and would come back feeling invigorated. So she loved the experience of exercise and the way exercise made her feel, but she didn't have that genetic drive to like get up off the couch and go do it. And I think one of the things we're the most proud of as parents is she's about to go off to college next year, and she talk about epigenetics, like that kid has learned to love moving, and she still does want to bake cookies and sit on the couch, but she also doesn't feel good if that's all she does, and she knows she needs to move, and she does it without being prodded by us.
She's in a battle with her school right now. She's a senior, and there's a weight room at the school
Run by Anton.
and Anton will not let her come in and squat.
Because he requires a 3-hour onboarding class in order to be able to use the
And
weight
George is
room.
like, what, do I need a
Squat
power
class?
snatch? What do you need me to do? Do you need me to?
She's like overhead
See if you
squat.
can find any videos there, Andrew. Okay. I think there's a couple videos of her lifting on your Instagram and stuff
But
like that.
she has thrown up her hands. She's like, I'm not taking this plank class where you're going to watch me plank. She's like, I know how to squat. Why don't you just let me squat? And he's like, no, you have to do the basics just like everyone else. And she's in this like little battle with Anton right now. And I support her. I'm like, nope, you don't need to do that. Just go squat. So she'll bake and then disappear. My favorite thing is deadlift and barbecue. Set up a bar, turn the things over, go deadlift a little bit, right? Back and forth. Get on the slack line in between. Georgia now bakes cookies and back squats in the garage.
Speaking of barbecuing, when I was in labor with Georgia, which was a long one, Kelly was like barbecuing in the backyard because he didn't know what to do. And it was
And I
like
did 100 L
OG,
pull-ups
like we
that
didn't
day.
have like a gas barbecue. He had to like set up the coals and like, fire up the wood and everything. But like his reaction to like, I'm about to have a baby was like, let's barbecue.
So wait, did you have the baby in the house? Is that why that?
No, I was just at the house in labor before we went to the hospital, but
Gotcha.
it went on for a while. And so, Kelly was just out there
cook us some
barbecuing.
What were you barbecuing? Like a brisket or
Do you
something?
remember?
Bulgogi.
I mean, he had like,
Bulgogi.
Trader Joe's bulgogi.
he had, like ribs going
It's
or
really
something.
good. We still eat it today.
I do have
So good.
I do have a question, especially like with Georgia. What other things do you guys think is good to set up the environment to aid in movement? Because one thing that I've noticed is like, for example, as we've been podcasting, like we have these things at our feet and we even have things on the table. And over time, Mark and I have noticed that we just fidget more now than we ever have because there are things at our feet and things at our hands. So we just move more. So what are some things that you think people can just do in their environment to aid in movement?
So we're obsessed with this topic. And actually, I was so stoked that this was a standing situation because our podcast table's also standing and I just stand there all the time. But
The podcast is standing because of you guys.
Yeah, see, thank you.
Yeah, I was like, I can't sit on this information that he's giving me.
Yeah, you can't. So we have two phrases we use to describe this, but one of them is just called constraining the environment. And the way Kelly likes to describe it is like, look, I love cookies, and if I have cookies in the house, I eat them. So if I don't have cookies in the house, I don't eat them. So we have applied that to literally all aspects of our life, right? Our office is all standing desks. So you can sit on a stool if you want, but the default is standing. We started a walking school bus when our kids were little. So we were like, well, we don't drive to school, we walk to school. If you look at our living room, it's like a mobility tool paradise. We have mats you can sit on the floor and foam rollers. Did you see my little video the other day where I opened my mobility tool drawer and there was a Mark Bell hip circle in it?
I saw a lot of the videos you've been shooting where you guys are kind of next to your coffee table and you're preaching to sit down while you're watching TV, like on the floor rather than on the couch and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we try to make it, we have balance boards and slack blocks around our house to practice our
and the
balance.
Reason is people don't have enough will.
No.
We spend your will and your self-control on really important stuff. Don't set up the world so you have to make another heroic effort to be like, okay, now that's never going to work. Yeah. And it doesn't work.
Yeah, like we have a whole chapter on balance in this book because we think it's so important and it is so a use it or lose it situation. I mean, the backstory is my mom, who is, lean and fit and has always been super active her whole life. But she really didn't do a lot in terms of balance practice. And at like 65, she couldn't ride a bike anymore because she felt just like timorous on a bike. And so balance is really one of those use it or lose it things. But I mean, if I told you guys like, hey, Mark Bell, you need to go to a 1 hour balance class today and you need to drive there and park your car and pay $30 for a balance class, you'd be like, oh yeah, no, I'm definitely not doing that. Like no one's going to do that. So, we have a whole chapter talking about how important we think balance is, but the practices are all constraining your environment. They're literally standing on one leg while you brush your teeth, doing the old man test every time you put on your shoes.
What's the old man test, Shay?
The old man test is you leave your shoes and socks on the ground and then you lift up one foot and you pick up your sock and put it on. And then you
ended up going viral like through us somehow, right?
Chris Hinshaw came.
Right?
Chris Hinshaw. We credit Chris Hinshaw. We put it in the book and we're like, it's Chris Hinshaw, and it's people have definitely seen it. Again, like I said, we have balance boards in our garage. So it's like if you walk through the garage, you just take a minute and get on the balance board, and we have balance tools at our standing desks. And so we've just tried to say, okay, we think this is important.
I need one
there
of
it
those.
Is.
I've seen that thing.
Yes.
I want it.
It's called the bongo board.
Bongo.
And there I am. You're saying dynamic balance where my kids are throwing something at me.
People get seriously fucked up on those things.
Yeah, I mean, you can, like word to the
that's
wise.
not step one.
You can lose your teeth, but yeah.
No. Just be a basic person like me. Get a longboard. Longboarding is kind of easy. I mean, it's easier than skateboarding.
Here's you're doing a ton of work with a local coach. Right. Look at all of the amazing balance and coordination training that's happening as part of this play that you're doing with this coach. Right. What's his name?
I'm not sure which guy you're referring to, but probably John.
John. So John is having you challenge your center of gravity. So one of the things that we see a lot is ideally, if you and I went out and played Frisbee, or there's a soccer ball out there, you play soccer ball, you're juggling on one foot, playing. Balance needs met. I saw you jump rope on one foot today. Balance needs met. We need to figure out how we can get these stimuli into your life, but that's not what's happening. People don't do that. They're living basically like with oven mitts on, walking around in ski boots, and they don't feel.
And people think they're getting a lot of that from the gym, and you're not necessarily even getting it.
If you're going to the gym, remember,
right.
We're seeing that as Juliet and I are really approaching 50. We turned 50 this year. And one of the things that we're seeing is, man, are you prepared for the things that are coming your way? If the number one reason people are likely to die is that you fall and break your hip, that is it. Because then you start to break your hip, then you have surgery, and then you lose your muscle mass, and then you lose your independence, and then, it's a bad thing. The number one reason people end up in nursing homes, can't get up off the ground. So it seems to us, if you were using the same technology we use, hey, I'm going to set a world record. On this day, I'm going to squat this. You start to work backwards and you say, well, how much do I need to squat today so that I can progress?
Well, just like his marathon training program.
Same.
Right? Like you didn't just say, I'm going to go run a marathon tomorrow. You're like, I'm going to run a marathon, but I'm going to work backwards and build up to running a marathon.
So why aren't we applying that same thinking around fundamentals in our bodies? And it turns out balance is an easy one that comes up. And remember, one of the things that we're always kind of going back and forth was, this isn't just for your parents. We spend a lot of time working on balance and foot strength with all of our athletes because we find it to be such a competitive advantage. So what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. And we're interested in technology and ideas that scale up and down. Whether I'm trying to rebuild my ankle awareness after an ankle sprain, or I want to, set a world record, having strong, rad feet makes a huge difference.
I think it's great that you guys came from the background of helping people get out of pain, because pain is it's really complicated. It's a complex, complicated thing. And a lot of times I know some people were going to you guys as like last resort. They went everywhere. They tried everything. They tried all the painkillers. They tried surgeries. They tried so many different things. And you're able to peel back the layers. And there is like some simplicity probably once you start to really think about pain. As you always say, like things are upstream, downstream. And then you get into hydration, your sleep, what's your lifestyle like? And so I think it's really cool the way that you guys have transitioned into talking about the stuff that you're talking about today, because is so related to how you diffused a lot of people's pain.
And let me just say that, where are people going to have that conversation? It doesn't happen in the physician's office because she does not have enough time to have that conversation with you. She's got 6 or 8 minutes to figure out, tell me what your sleep looked like for the last 3 months, Mark, or the stress. That's not the place for that conversation. The place we learned to have that conversation was in the gym. That was where we could have conversations about nutrition and, hey, why are you wearing those shoes? And what's going on? And my knee hurts. And what did you do for your knee that made you feel better? Mm-hmm. And now we're saying, can we take those lessons and then hand them over to our neighbors? Again, if the unit of change is the neighborhood, right, then what we wanted to do was also create a book that you could give to your mom or dad or uncle or neighbor to say, hey, I see that you're interested. You're asking me a lot of these questions. Start here. Let's get you kind of spun up on some basics, and then we can have the next conversation.
One of the things I like to tell people too is almost every time Kelly does a speaking engagement, he asks the crowd, which is 5 people or 1,000 people, how many of you are in pain? And like 98% of people raise their hands. And so I think this goes back a little bit to what I was saying at the beginning about what people care about. And, again, there's so many people who do want to be healthy and be out of pain. But I think we've really not done a great job in the fitness business because I think we think that they want to have shredded abs and, and follow the perfect diet and look a certain way on Instagram, when really most people
they're not on Instagram.
Even many people who are were college athletes and legit athletes at some point in their life, but they could care less about a lot of the things we think in the industry they care about. What most of those people care about is can I live without chronic pain, and can I do the things with my body that I want to be able to do? And up till now, there hasn't been any accessible way for people to get some really basic information. And, one of the things, we haven't even talked about it yet, but there is a lot of sort of movement-based mobility type chapters in this book as well. Tests, so that people can get a benchmark. Because, speaking of pain, as Mark, it's one of the big issues is poor mechanics and lack of range of motion. And people don't even know that they should care about that. They don't even know. I mean, we've been beating that drum for a while, and I know you care and you guys care, but
when I met Mark couldn't put his shoes on.
Without sitting down?
Without maybe using a stick.
That's still hard. My feet are so far away from the rest of my body.
You're not wrong. But I want to just give
They're getting further and further away.
And showing, because a lot of people are like, can this change? I'm like, you have no idea how much you can change. You have no idea. Your body never stops healing. It never stops remodeling. And if I cut you in half and counted the rings, there are some years back there look like forest fires and droughts, right? And then all of a sudden,
you survived a lot of droughts.
All of a sudden, I look at now and I'm like, oh, look, there's wind and hair and all these things happening, and it really just shows that if you start to begin to be consistent on some of these behaviors, they start to aggregate and roll, and you have no idea how much you can change and make the system more robust. You really can. I don't know if it was just that moment where you fell with 1,000 pounds. Is that the moment that you were like, wait a minute, maybe it's not just 1,001 or 1,007 or 1,008, there's something else to this whole system.
I just know that my fat friend, Jesse Burdick, was the one that kind of just encouraged me to walk after I fell with that weight. And he was like, you know, he would tell me, yeah, just, you know, go for, and I couldn't walk very well because I was in a lot of pain. But I just started walking. And then eventually the walking turned into running. You know, it took many, many years. It took like 10 years. But just the encouragement to walk was big. And then I think I wanted to try to turn it into something else, but I wasn't really able to. And I would try and turn it into something else. I would try to like even just like walk with like a weight vest, or like I tried to make it harder than it needed to be or more complicated. And it just didn't need to be. And I just learned, I was like, I'm just going to keep walking. And so I would walk, I don't know, 2 miles a day for a little while, and then 3 miles.
Yeah, you did your 10-minute
and
walks. You would do like a bunch of 10-minute walks all the time.
Yeah.
So did you do anything else besides walking to get out of pain?
Yeah,
I mean, and losing weight and walking to.
Yeah, obviously the diet and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I mean, I was 330 pounds. You guys remember? I mean, you guys were there with me for a lot of that. And I just had to make changes. You know, I was doing stuff at that time that I thought was in my best interest to do the best I possibly could on the platform and in the sport of powerlifting. That's a sport I love. And so I was just throwing down as hard as I could in that realm. And when it chewed me up and spit me out, I was smart enough to recognize it. And I said, I think that's it.
Human beings are
that's
the
it.
only animal we think, like, I should fit in the same jeans I wore in college when I was 19. Like, that's crazy. We're the only, like, you have the same weight your whole life. We should, like, when we
What's
have
your favorite weight?
well, we can get into that. But, you know, we should be able to re-spin up, spin down, retool. I'm interested in this for a while. I feel like I'm too heavy as I ski. I want to get lighter, right? You know, we have that capacity to remodel and change. And your tissues, similarly, your range of motion, as you've proven, has radically changed. You're moving more fluidly. You have access to different shapes and positions. You've always been a good athlete. I think sometimes you don't get kind of the credit for being such a, I think, world champion. I think the
Something
world
like
champion
that.
end or something like that. But you have continued to change and remodel, and your body's right there to be it with you. It takes a little bit longer when you're coming from a 330-pound world champion strong person, but as an allegory for the rest of us, we can improve our range of motion. We can improve these systems. The body doesn't ever turn these capacities off. It just gets harder to access them.
What are some of the tests that you guys were mentioning? Like some of the basic tests that you guys have in the book that people can try, or maybe they can even try it out while they're doing the podcast?
Well, I tell you, here's a good one. We love this one because it's so accessible. All you need to do is stand crisscross applesauce and then lower yourself to the ground. Can you do that while you're here? Maybe you don't have enough room. So can you sit all the way on the ground, crisscross applesauce? Just sit cross-legged.
Oh, that will kill me.
Yeah, right. sit all the way down.
Thunk.
On my toes.
There you go. Just sit cross-legged. You're on some weird balance board thing that's going to kill you, right?
It's amazing watching
All the way to the
Nsima
ground.
try to fit his
Perfect.
big body back here.
Now, without he's basically sitting crisscross applesauce.
Yeah, he kind of did it.
Now, without putting your hands down, without putting your knees down, can you stand up from that position?
I think he can.
Man.
I think
You can lean forward. Put your hands out in front of you. Rock forward.
Oh, he's got a big butt.
He does have a
One
gigantic
hand.
butt, and I'm jealous of that.
anchored.
So you
feel
put
like my
one hand
booty
down,
anchors
you got a
me.
B. So you put one hand down, so you got a B.
Now I have a caveat and a question. I got a big ass and some big legs.
I
Me
know,
too,
you're
my friend. Me too, my
But
friend.
okay, I mean, I'm not going to comment, but but like it's really dumpy back here. So I wonder, is that like holding me back, or is it
Kelly's
because,
ass
is
is
it because
pretty
my
thick.
back?
I have a
lattice-
pretty
Yeah,
thick ass.
Kelly has
You do.
he's got
And I
some.
had a knee replacement. I can still do that. So,
I have a B. I have a B.
And he's almost 50.
Comma, not even a world champion.
Wait, how old are you, Mark Bell? Is it a secret?
46.
Okay.
I had to check.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
Oh man. Do you remember that? Cut off your hand, it grows back the next day. So that test is a mid-range test of a hip flexion. and not even strength. We see little tiny babies be able to do that, right?
Yep.
But what that does is that actually is a really good indicator of your early mortality and early morbidity. The more points of contact you have, like for you, again, there's a lot of things going on. Am I worried about your health because you struggle to have some hip flexion? But if that could indicate, you're like, wow, I have a hard time sitting on the ground. I have a hard time flexing my knees. I have a hard time putting my hips into external rotation and balancing in those positions. And it really gives us insight. I think one of the reasons, supple leopard stays on the shelf is that we always are trying, and we haven't done a good enough job of making the connection between you care about this because it limits the things you can do and the things you care about.
I got to say, some of these challenges are really annoying because there's people that can do them that don't work out or do anything. And you're like, how the hell were they able to do it? But your girlfriend could probably do that very easily.
Oh, Sam could easily.
She trains. But you mentioned, I don't think she was an athlete growing up.
Nah, she wasn't. She just walked a lot with her mom.
But she
she was a mover, but she moved. Well, and you know what I'd like to say about the get up and down off the floor test is that, it's one of the easiest practices to fix in your life because the recommendation we have is sit on the floor and watch TV or watch one of your shows because everybody's doing it. Everybody's watching Netflix or whatever at night. So how about just change it and sit on the floor, because then by getting back up off the floor, you've practiced that movement. Or like the other thing I do is every time I go to the gym and do a workout, I literally do that crisscross, once down, once up. And I mean, now it's just, you have a benchmark. You're like, oh, okay, I'm missing some hip flexion. You have an awareness now, which is what we're hoping to give you by having this objective test. Like you have an awareness that you have a bit of a limitation there. And there's super simple things you can practice, that you can do to practice it and get better.
Those are mid-range tests. Everything in here is very reasonable. For someone like you who's an athlete who says, oh, wow, this was harder than I thought. Like, you're a good athlete. I don't want to compete against you. One of the things that you can suddenly realize is, oh, hey, I'm just below this benchmark. It was a little harder than I wanted. So now I can do a couple things. Maybe I do a little pigeon pose, standing. Maybe I work on my hip range of motion. I got it. And then now what we've done is we've given people a language to understand minimums and understand sort of where they are and the cost of their lives. Have a baby, run a marathon, take a red eye. Let's see how well you do. I guarantee you're going to look like crap.
What about even something as simple as just get up off the couch without sounding like a bear?
Cocaine bear? Come on, that's different.
Well, I'm like, let me give you. You're only 30, so you don't care about this yet, but you will. So we were just on the Conquer Athlete podcast with Jason Layden, and he's a great dude. And he was telling us he has like a young baby, like 4 months old or something. And he had 2 sets of his own mother and then his mother-in-law were there to help take care of the baby. And his mother-in-law couldn't get down on the ground or back up again. So she was unable to sit on the floor with their baby to be able to play with the baby. So it actually, and mind you, this woman's like 65 and also not unfit, but she couldn't sit on the floor with her grandchild. And so, like it's just simple things like that you don't even think about, but like that's what you could lose if you don't use it, is that kind of thing. And you don't think about that. You're like, oh, it would never occur to me that I'd want to sit on the floor and play with my grandchild when I'm 65.
And one of the things that's happening at Super Training, which is really fun, is that you're bringing in all of these other modalities of training. You're bringing in experts and you're like, show us what's going on. And you're starting to see the kinds of people that are training here and the things they're doing really start to be diverse. It's really fun. I mean, it's like a cardio bunny gym out there now, basically, right? Jump ropes, jogging. I'm like, where am I? Cats are sleeping with dogs.
You didn't even see the ropes we have, man.
That's right.
You got to try it all, right? I mean, that's what we do. You got to try things out and see, what does this thing actually work?
And can I do the thing? We get so obsessed with, my training is like the secret school program of all secret school programs. And I say, well, that's cool. Can you transfer that to this skill? So what we've done is created some neutral tests to see how well your skills transfer. Because if you're, only box squatting so high and you don't ever, we talked about one time, you're like, I don't think my knee has gone deeper than my hip or my hip has gone deeper than my knee in, 10 years. Didn't need to. And I'm still the best in the world at what I do. So these tests give you an example of seeing how well your training is going, or is your training, because you're into running, is it costing you on one of your kind of key metrics? We call that idea session cost. there is a session cost to the training you're doing. Your brutal training that you did yesterday is going to impact your ability to generate force today, your volume today, and your range of motion. So if we can reduce that session cost or develop practices that diminish the cost of the activity, then what we see is we have better, less compensation, better capacity for the long haul. But these tests are simple. I don't know what you did yesterday or what training, but suddenly you're like, I should be able to come in and do David Weck stuff or get into FP stuff. I should be able to do all of that if the truth of my training is real.
So over Christmas, our daughters, as you know, they both play water polo and then they like to weightlift and stuff. But they went to a Pilates class in Tahoe.
We were like, go get your ass kicked in Pilates.
They were so worked, like rhabdo level sore, like worked from doing a Pilates class. And we're like,
you're a
there
child
you go.
of a fitness person when they come on, they're like, I've got rhabdo. I'm like, you're 15.
So anyway, we make them test their fitness in weird ways, like Pilates.
Go ahead. I've been seeing there's been a lot of people that have been annoyed at how much like we've been talking about the feet and how deep we've gotten into it because we've noticed a big difference with ourselves. And I know you guys have kind of talked to us about it a little bit, but are we focusing on it too much, or have you guys also? I mean, I saw on Ready to Run, I texted Mark and Andrew about this. I'm like, Kelly's been talking about this shit for a minute, right?
Do you see what I'm saying to you, Mark? Do you see what I'm saying to you?
But Huberman said.
Yeah, what Huberman said. I'm going to let Kelly take this one because he is truly obsessed with the feet. And my guess is he would say you're not talking about it too much.
Oh.
The real question is where and when are we going to work on your feet? That's the real question. What thing am I going to give up? Because that's really the conversation that people come in. I need the 3 key mobilizations for my body, just the 3. I'm like, okay, so you don't want to put your arms over your head or squat? Like, what's not important to you?
I want to say, when are we going to talk about our feet? Like the next time that I go to the grocery store, to like the person that checks me out.
Hey, nice feet.
Like instead of talking about like the weather and stuff, I want to say, when are we going to talk about your feet?
When are we going to talk feet?
You nasty.
Yeah, I've been listening to the Power
Kelly
Project.
also just subtext Kelly. His most triggering thing that anyone can say to him is what's like the number one mobilization I should do? Like if you want to, like I've seen so many people ask him that, and his head like tilts to the side and he starts like twitching a little bit.
And I tell him,
he wants to be nice to the person, but he's like dying on the inside.
So you say something deep like you need to eat more protein.
So then I come in as like, background. I'm like, couch stretch. He won't be able to tell you, but just do that one.
10-minute squat.
Yeah.
10-minute squat. What is it you want to do with your body? Where are you connecting your feet to the ground? So we are working with this pretty good surfer right now. He is first in class, extraordinary, and his feet are so strong and so balanced and so springy. And it's weird how that somehow connects his world-class, world champion surfing. His connection to the board is his feet. And he obsesses on his feet. And he's working with Vivo on, kind of telling the story. And it's interesting because we're watching this documentary. It's called Make or Break on Apple right now about the surf contest and the athletes who surf there, men and women. But sometimes Juliet will go, ew, look at his feet. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, that guy can't go very far. At some point, he is not going to be connecting all the power to the board because his feet. Mm-hmm. So if balance matters, if locomoting in the world, there's a guy named Philip Beach who wrote a book called Muscles and Meridians. And he says, really, if you look evolutionarily, and I don't think that's the best lens always, but he's like, what were human beings needing to do? We needed to throw stuff. We needed to get up and down off the ground, and we needed to carry stuff. Well, all 3 of those things require the foot. And what we see is that there's if you look at the homunculus on the brain, that's the pattern of the brain, the sensory cortex that like your hand takes up a huge amount of space in your brain, your face and tongue, huge amount, but your feet almost take up as much space as your hands, right? Your feet almost take as much space as your genitals in terms of the space on your brains,
Whoa.
The homunculus.
Whoa.
You're welcome. Hey, didn't I tell you in the car I was going to bring up the genital homunculus? That's the name of my new alt-rock band.
I was going to say, they have another book.
So I don't know what Kelly's talking about, but
the feet are important.
Quick side story. So Kelly was at this chiropractic conference last week, and he came home and he had this little device, and he's like, oh, okay, I'm so excited about this device. I'm going to measure your foot strength.
No. Big toe strength.
Big toe strength. So you put this little thing under, and it's got this little thing attached to it that tells, and I got like the worst score, and I got so mad. I was like, we got in like an actual fight, not really, but like a fake fight. And he's like, see, you only got 10 and I got 30. And we were like, we were literally having this like this is how sad our life is, actually, as I'm saying it out loud. It's embarrassing. But we were literally like measuring our toe strength with a device on the living room floor, like basically 2 nights ago. So
welcome to my brain.
If that tells you anything about how much we care about it.
Yeah.
What you'll see is that the Russians have an old saying, you're as old as your feet. Look at all of the, look at the work of David Weck is really talking about foot position, foot strength. Any of these groups are talking or be talking about how do we develop the foot. The real question is, do I need a secret squirrel foot program? How can I begin to strengthen my feet? What can I do in the context of the things I love? Well, walking around barefoot is that's a good starter. Mm-hmm. Having shoes that facilitate the right movement. You're running in a running shoe right now, right? Mm-hmm. Because that allows you to run. But you're not wearing that running shoe currently, are you?
No, I'm barefoot right now, yeah.
You took them off. Mm-hmm. That's how we want people to start to view their shoes. Even though when we wrote Ready to Run a long time ago, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended 0 shoes for children. They were like, the shoe we recommend is no shoe. Then the second shoe we recommend is the shoe that doesn't disrupt your feet. So here's a simple test you can do with your feet. Stand barefoot, which you guys are doing. Find balance between the ball of your foot and your heel, and put your ankles right in the middle of your feet. So you look down and your ankles are just balanced in the middle of your feet. Got it? Balance from front to back.
Okay, yeah. Ankles
in the middle. That's what we call a reference foot position. If I was going to have you squat the most, I want your feet to look like that to generate the most force. Some of our Olympic lifting super studs call this flat foot jumping or full foot jumping from the full foot. This position allows you to handle the most force. It's our reference position. It's not the only position your feet needs to be in. But now, put on your shoes and see how far from this position your shoes are pushing you. Are they pushing you outside? Can you even weight your ball of your heel? Are you slammed into your heel? Are they pushing you inside? And that's a really nice indicator of which shoe should you use. It's the shoe that disrupts your function the best or the least, or the shoe that disrupts how your brain is interpreting the ground. And that's a really simple way. That means Juliet's wearing some cute shoes right now, right?
Why are you calling me out? I was trying to hide those.
It's okay that she's wearing cute shoes because she's not only wearing cute shoes. Mm-hmm. I think that's what we want people to understand. You can start to strengthen your feet, play. One of the things we were talking about besides environmental constraint is this idea of peppering. So we'll throw Georgia. She'll never hear this, so we'll just keep talking shit.
Yeah, she's never going to listen to this.
No
offense, Mark Bell.
Oh, she's just she's Uncle Mark, like whatever. I'm not going to listen to this podcast. So when she was a little kid, she had a pacifier in her crib, and she would lose the pacifier, and then she'd be like, I can't find her pacifier. And our pediatrician was like, oh, yeah, we solved that. You just put 20 pacifiers in the crib. And so in the night, she would lose her pacifier, but just move her arm around and hit like 16.
It didn't matter like where her little arm was sweeping, there was a pacifier there.
And then she'd sort it out, right? So we took that idea, and if you, like right now, you're standing on a pebble mat, you got the sole feet over here. The idea is if you can create opportunity to explore balance, foot, without having to do another thing, you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. We call that reducing barriers to adherence or, reducing friction, whatever the behavioral language you want. But what you guys have done back here is created an opportunity to have really strong feet, and you don't have to go do something else to have really strong feet, because that's where we lose the narrative of all of this.
I would just like to add too that being barefoot means actually being barefoot, because we see, we know a lot of people who have like shoe off homes, which I'm a fan of that, great shoe off home. But then in a lot of those homes, people are wearing like these really soft, squishy slippers around. Is that you? Oh, you're not that. I was like, are you wearing a soft, squishy slipper?
No.
Yeah, you're like background person. Anyway, I'm just saying that, the soft, squishy slipper is not barefoot.
How about socks? You guys care about that?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, Kelly actually was just in Japan, and I'm going to tell a story about that too, because it does relate to getting up and down off the floor. But Kelly was just in Japan, and he called me a couple times, and he's like, okay, so it's really trippy because once you go into a building, basically everyone's wearing a robe, the same one, and socks. Like just around the hotel, like you're like down there at the hotel bar, you're wearing your socks and your robe, and then you're like going to breakfast at the hotel bar and you're wearing your robe and your socks. Like everyone's just wearing socks.
Imagine like all of the older people in your life, all of them. They're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're all hanging out in socks on hardwood floors. How's that going to end? That's what's happening in Japan. I was like, everyone's going to die. You're going to slip and fall.
It's not even like hospital socks that have like the, the traction underneath. But anyway, so just speaking of getting up and down off the floor, Kelly was traveling and skiing with a bunch of friends. And the guy he was supposed to share a room with had a cold. So they wanted to separate and sleep in different rooms. And the hotel staff was freaking out because they're like, well, we don't have an extra room. We don't have an extra room. And when they got down to the bottom of it, what they realized, or what Kelly and the guys realized, is they did have an extra room. They just didn't have an extra like American white person room that where the bed is at a normal height and the table's at a normal height. They had Japanese rooms still available where the futon is on the floor, the table and chairs are on the floor, the shower is set up so you sit in the shower on the ground. Literally like the
ceiling's real low.
The thermostats are at floor level, like squatting level. And Kelly was like, this room was made for me. Like Mr. Toddler joint himself.
Me, choose me, pick me.
Yeah, and so he was so excited. But, they literally have to have two separate rooms in Japan for American and Western tourists because we need our bed off the ground and we need our tables off the ground. And we literally can't get up and down off the ground. Wow. So Kelly was like the perfect person to get the all on the ground room. And
so
if
you're into socks, you're into toe socks, I think it's a great opportunity to express your individualism. I am a raw dog barefoot guy. Mm-hmm. I don't even
You don't even wear socks in your shoes.
I don't like socks. Sometimes I have to cycle my shoes a little faster.
But you wore them when you were in Japan, right?
Yeah, only because I don't want to be that creepy white guy.
Yeah.
You were in a robe and socks?
He wasn't in a robe and socks.
With everyone else. Get right in line.
Sipping on some green tea.
And they're the toe socks. So your big toe is separate.
Oh, really?
Like ninja socks.
Yeah, but just your big toe, like not all your toes, just the big toe separate.
How have you guys been able to do this together for so long? Because that can be hard sometimes to work with your significant other. So how have you guys been able to... Are you saying
it's hard to work with Andy? Is that what you're saying?
No, I've heard from other people that sometimes these situations might be difficult.
Sometimes it can be difficult. Sometimes it can be difficult. Why don't you take that one?
Well, it's easy.
Raising kids and starting a business, like getting everything all going all at one time.
I think it's easier than people think. I think if you are in a relationship, you're already running a small business. You're running a household. You're solving problems together. All we have done is, though, expanded what that thing that you're doing with your partner in your house is already happening, right? Someone's got to do dishes. Someone's got to, you got to pick up kids. Whatever your house is, just expand that same level of communication to having a business. I think it's the same. There's an old saying, it's like, what is it? It's like strangers in public, married in the bedroom, where we're really polite to each other. We try to be thoughtful to each other. I think it helps that Juliet and I have radically different skill sets. Like Juliet is really skilled and I'm really good at picking up things. I'm good at flexibility. But, one of the things that is known, and I think it blows people's minds, but I'm like, do you guys train together? If people struggle to think about us working together, I'm like, you don't train together with your partner. Juliet's the greatest training partner I ever had. In fact, I met Juliet at the World Championships in whitewater paddling, and I saw Juliet perform, talk, hang out, flirt, have fun into the most stressful time in her life at the World Championships, where she could die on the river. It's very big and scary. And in that moment, I sort of knew everything I needed to know about Juliet. When it gets really hairy, I'm going to know what looks like, how Juliet's going to handle that stress. So, I think the other thing is that people don't jump into fully formed businesses together. Juliet's an attorney. I'm a physical therapist. We started a gym with a really great banner sign that you really love. And we kind of stepwise.
What are you talking about?
It wasn't really a gym.
Mark is making
a parking lot of dreams.
Gym is a loose term.
Gym idea. Gym adjacent.
Gym adjacent.
And you turned it into a gym at one point and you ruined it.
Yeah.
It fucked everything up.
We ruined it.
When you tried to make it real and tried to make it legit and actually have a sign, it jacked everything up.
Yeah, it wasn't as cool.
Your intuition was dead on from the beginning.
I think if we use the allegory of things, when are you going to do this stuff? if you end up working with your partner, the things you're going to have to make sure that you're doing is you have to pepper your environment and constrain the environment so much that Juliet isn't my business partner. Juliet's my wife who I work with. And we're going out of our way to have dinner together. We're going our way to make sure that we're hanging out and we like each other and we still play and exercise and adventure together, because it's easy suddenly to slip into a different relationship. You can make that mistake where suddenly Juliet is the CEO and all we're doing is running business instead of that other thing. I think that's the magic, is that we've continued to adventure together, and Juliet's still my number one adventure kid.
Well, also I would say I do think a lot of relationships is just luck. Like I think you kind of luck out to choose someone who you ultimately end up, or that your interests continue to evolve together and you stay interested in. Like I think part of that is literally just luck. But we did have some really fundamental things going for us. Like we really see very eye to eye about how to raise our kids and like what we value in life and how we think about money and a lot of those really basic things. Like we haven't had to really negotiate that much of in our relationship. Like we really have seen eye to eye on that. And so
Juliet makes all the money. I like to spend
definitely, we definitely have our moments, and I am like bossy as heck. And sometimes Kelly has to like do box breathing to deal with my bossiness.
You kind of just like talk at people sometimes. That's what you've always done with me.
Yeah.
Like
so
you don't
excited.
give me an opportunity to think.
No,
like,
I'm so excited to see
she hits
you.
me like so many times. I'm like, I'll just do what she said.
But it's not like that with everyone. I'm just so excited when I see you. I'm like, Barbara, I have so many things to tell you.
But check this out. If you're really in a partnership with someone, a training partner, right, you're in a feedback state. So if you and I are really like, we're on the platform, we're doing something, we're giving each other intense feedback. Because I make the assumption that you can see things and perceive things about me that I can't see. That's why we have training partners, right? They're coaching, you're getting coached, you're giving me feedback every set. Really liked how you did that. The same thing is true with your partner. It's difficult to get to a place where you can appreciate that Juliet actually is bossy. That's true. My life is better and organized because it is, but also Juliet can see a whole bunch of shit that I can't see. She perceives when I'm going off the rails or I'm missing something or I've handled something wrong. And when I made that mind shift that Juliet was on my team, that made it a lot easier. We weren't compatriots. Juliet has my back and she's looking out for all the traps that I'm going to step on.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, we talk about sleep all the time on the podcast because it's one of the biggest things that helps you with your health and fitness, your recovery, your muscle gain, your fat loss, everything. That's why we've partnered with 8 Sleep for such a long time now, because the technology behind the mattress allows you to track your heart rate, the amount of times it takes you to fall asleep, your tosses and turns, your heart rate variability. It changes its temperature through the night based off how you sleep, but not only yourself, but maybe your partner on the other side of the bed. It is an amazing mattress. Andrew, how can they learn more?
Yes, head over to 8sleep.com/power project. That's 8 spelled out, EIGHT, sleep.com/power project. Along with more information, you guys will actually save $150 off of your entire order automatically. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
What about in terms of having the kids kind of do some of the things that you guys are doing? I mean, I know it's in the household, so hopefully they see it, but I saw my dad wear a suit and tie and go to work every day and never wanted to do that. So like, how do you get your kids kind of incorporate some of what you're doing?
I think that's always you're always like, oh my God, is my kid going to even, I think we are huge proponents of sort of like trying to lead by example with our kids. And really my only hope with them when it comes to all this physical stuff is
they're
just
not
what we
vegetarians. That's it.
That, with all this physical stuff we do, and I mentioned it earlier, like my only hope with them is that we've, trained them or taught them or showed them how important it is to keep moving in life, whatever that means to them, however they want to do it, whatever brings them joy, to just keep moving and sort of keep an eye on, some of these built to move kind of benchmarks.
Georgia's a really good cook. She knows how to cook, like real food. She'll make dinner for us regularly. She has she knows how to train and program for herself. So, even that is
the other thing I was going to say is we really we've never been big alcoholic drinkers. Like that's never been a big thing for us. But we sort of made a conscious decision to like pretty much not drink when our kids were quite a bit younger. Because we, where we live in Marin County, there's like the highest rate of adult binge drinking and teen binge drinking. And we were like, okay, well,
Really?
if what we do every night is drink, And everything that we do for fun involves drinking.
That's how we self-soothe.
And if that's how we self-soothe, then that's what we've taught our kids. And we want to teach our kids that the way to self-soothe is by moving and playing and connecting in meaningful ways with other people and being outside and doing adventures. And so we've really tried hard to show them that like that's how you can kind of take care of your mental health as a human and not self-soothe.
And we don't demonize alcohol, just everyone knows.
We'll have a drink at a wedding or whatever. I mean, we're not like total anti-drinkers, but we just really took a moment to think and we wanted to be intentional about, hey, what do we want? How do we want to teach our kids?
Yeah, why can't you just enjoy each other? Why can't you just enjoy times together?
Yeah.
Like, why does there always have to be alcohol? Like, you shouldn't have to feel like you need it.
Yeah, exactly. And so
now we're old and alcohol trashes us.
Yeah,
really.
That's really, also sad.
That's really. When I was 30, I was like, tequila, it's fine. Now I'm like, ooh, tequila. All right, clear the schedules.
Yeah.
You know, with it's interesting. You know, one of the things we believe strongly in, and we have this in the book, is we have protein minimums, right? Like, I think that's really reasonable. And our goals in there for the average person, if you're not very active and you're just kind of cruising around, 0.7 grams per pound body weight is a reasonable goal. We tell people if like you're trying to heal, if you're trying to grow, if you're trying to get better or change your body composition, we're like 1 gram per pound body weight. We think that's really reasonable. And that's reasonable end, right? You guys can go super crazy. Well, we have the same thing with fruits and vegetables. We're trying to get 800 grams of fruits and vegetables every day. And one of the reasons is we feel like people don't get enough micronutrients. And your growing, loading child needs more micronutrients. So Caroline only loves brown food. Like, we have to trick her, and I'm like, look over there, an airplane, and like to try to get her to eat fruits and vegetables is a constant battle. So some of the things are our kids have grown up and they know what they need to do. It's not perfect. I mean, our kids
they don't always do it.
Like, our kids are like, fish is disgusting. We're not eating fish, Dad. So, we're constantly battling, but also simultaneously we have Georgia, who was like an all-league superstar water polo player, but she's like, playing college? Are you crazy? Do you see all those college players? All those Olympians who come back and are broke and depressed? She's like, I don't want that.
Kids have such a different viewpoint.
Oh, she's
nowadays.
like, I'm going to go.
Like they're so much smarter.
She's like, I'm going to go study economics. Like, she's already started a subscription cookie business. And she's already got like $1,200 of recurring revenue every month. And
now
she
that
works
you're running, you could be a subscriber.
4 days. She works 4 days a month, 4 or 5 days a month cooking.
What kind of cookies are we talking about? I love cookies.
It's cookie of the month, so you don't get to decide. It just comes. You should be a subscriber. Now that you're running, you can definitely manage it.
What's the website?
Yeah, how do
georgiasbakeshop.com.
Check it out, peeps.
It's legit. And she now bakes for the Presidio. She'll bake for big events, but she's figured out, she's like, oh, this entrepreneurial thing, dude. Owning. She was a lifeguard the summer before. And she was so bummed. She's like, I didn't make any money. They owned my schedule.
She was making $15, $25
She's like,
an
I'm
hour.
never
She's
working
like,
for the man ever again.
You're defaming the family name by making cookies.
So isn't it funny though that like our whole mission is, to try to help people move more and be healthier. And then our daughter has a subscription cookie company. I mean,
It's legit. She's
trying to send more people your way.
Her senior project she's about to graduate, and her senior project is she's actually working with Momentous Nutrition to make a proprietary protein recovery cookie.
Yeah,
and that's her senior project.
She's like, none of these protein cookies are even slightly edible. She's like, I can do better. She's trying to make a protein cookie.
I like what you guys preach is seems to be more add-ons rather than like just subtract from people's lives, rather than saying, hey, you can't do that. You guys are trying to add. So, but are there things that people need to eventually maybe they do need a departure from it? Like maybe probably be a really good idea for a lot of people to have a departure from alcohol, or what do you recommend when it comes to that?
How about this? Let's cover the basics, right? And then make a decision about how that's. So for us, for Juliet and I, if you pin us down, you're like, what is the one behavior? We're like, it's sleep. We organize our day around sleep. We protect our sleep. Sleep is the game for us. So if we view that, we know that if we sleep and drink, we're not going to get good deep sleep. Juliet will wake up with a headache at 3 a.m, which after one drink she does, right? Nice little feedback loop. So suddenly you can make a decision. I'm not very stressed. I'm well rested. This alcohol is going to mess me up, but I'm going to take that hit. That's a real different conversation than the only way I know to hit the brakes is to have a bottle of wine. right? And that means that we have poorly prepared someone to be able to handle their stressors, and we've given them a less effective way to manage that. Versus, I'm out at dinner with my friends, and Mark just ordered a great bottle of wine. I'm going to have a glass, and that's okay. So you're right, though. We really talk about expanding whenever we can. So if you eat 800 grams of fruits and vegetables and hit your protein macros, guess what happens? You're super full. And you're like, well, I guess there's not any room for cookies. Right. So what we found is that if we can net positive change this way, instead of taking things away from people, then we see a lot better adherence. You're right.
I'll answer that. Maybe people could stand to spend a little less time on their phones before they go to bed. That'd be like the one thing I would say is a subtraction.
Okay, quick question there, because you guys mentioned the sleep thing.
Young and old, I want to say, because we tend to think that just younger kids are on there.
No, we're all doing it too.
But it's us, and it's people that are 60, 70. It's our parents they're on the phones a lot too.
Yeah, it's universal.
You're
I
right.
agree. I
put Instagram on, like, it's on the app page. It's not on my home screen. So I have to swipe all the way over. And what that did is because I was on it too much, because I really like watching what's going on in the world.
It's fun, yeah.
It's super fun.
It is fun, but
so I had to make it so it was hard for me to find it. Now I open it in the morning, I open it in the evening, I try not to go.
How about burn 20 calories every time you want to try to use it?
Because I don't have enough calories to burn. I would do it all the time. It's fine.
What else do you guys do to guard your sleep?
Oh man, we are truly obsessed with our sleep. The biggest thing is we just actually try to go to bed early. And, one of the things we recommend and we learned actually through all this sleep tracking is that, if you go to sleep at 10 and wake up at 6, that's not 8 hours of sleep, that's 7 hours of sleep. That's one of the biggest things I learned once I started actually tracking my sleep, is that the average person loses like an hour of sleep just from, not falling asleep and getting up and whatever you're doing. And, a lot of those wake ups you're not even aware of, you're not conscious of. So I think one of the big things we do is actually just know that we are like, it's a benchmark, 7 hours is a minimum, 8 hours is ideal. So we actually set up our life.
If you're in pain or injured, or trying to grow muscle, or change your body composition,
8
or
hours.
learn a skill, it's 8 hours.
Yeah.
That means you may need to be in bed for 9 hours. Like, straight up. You can't be like, well, Bill Clinton only slept 4 hours.
Well, then he died.
He did die, and they brought him back.
Yeah, but I think we just try to structure, we really do try to structure. That's what we like to tell people. We're like, great, Bill Clinton, except for he died. We just try to structure our life around making sure we can get enough sleep. And, it does, I will say, sometimes impact our social life. Like, we're definitely not the fun people that go out till 12 o'clock. We're the boring friends who are like, party's over, 8:15, see you guys later. So we probably take a hit from a social standpoint a little bit with our obsession with sleep. But we just really try to make sure we've structured our life. And I will say, though, we're not perfect. We also have to travel for work, and we take adventures, and, we also like to travel for fun. So, we like everybody else have phases where, we don't get enough sleep, but we just are aware of it. We're like, we take note. And like you did with, you're getting up off the floor, like, okay, noted. I'm not getting enough sleep. When I get home, I'm going to make sure I reprioritize my sleep when I actually can. So, we try to be realistic about it. We're all busy and doing things, but wherever we can, we try to make sure we get enough sleep.
We both sleep in eye masks. We figured that out. I had to train myself too.
It's dark and cold in our room.
And then we have these things we sleep on from this company called Sleep Me, this Doc Pro, and it allows us to modulate the temperature of the bed. So in the summer, we can keep the bed really cold so you don't wake up sweaty and hot. And in the evening, in the winter, since our house is basically like a shed, a mid-century modern shed, we come in and our bed is warm when we get in, and then it starts to drop the temperature. And it's literally the greatest thing that's ever
happened. Do you guys have one of those?
8 sleep.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty sweet, right?
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
What about like cold therapy and hot? Like I see you guys doing all kinds of weird shit, and I think you guys are like exercising on the bottom of your pool and stuff like that sometimes. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. That's why I haven't come over in a long time.
You're scared?
So I'm like, I don't want to be subject to any of this stuff.
You don't want to drown?
Look, the research is really clear. Sauning is great for you. There's more and more data coming out around cold water immersion exposure, just getting cold and shivering, making yourself cold for a few minutes.
Brown fat.
I think one of the reasons, forget all that. We love that if you get hot and get cold, you will go to sleep, no matter how stressed you are. So one of the feelings that we have is the bigger the engine, the bigger the set of brakes you need to have. And for us, we're lucky enough to have a sauna and a cold plunge in our house. We don't have to go anywhere. And no matter how stressed we are, We go sit in there. It's kind of dim. We have to talk. It's super hot. Then we get cold, and then it breaks us every single time. You can look at it simply as warming up and cooling down are two of the most expensive things your body does. Yeah. And if you swing back and forth, make your body do that, it's going to exhaust you. Mm-hmm. You're also going to become more effective at it. So if you end up in a cold environment or hot environment, you're going to be better at handling those things. You could look at it range of motion for your vasculature, just so that you can handle and have better circulation to your feet and your hands. But also, it's fun. It's super entertainment. So there's the J-Star.
There we go. I mean, I would just like to say, though, one other thing that is not always appreciated about the sauna and is that, man, we've had like some of the greatest and best like interactions and conversations with our friends in the sauna.
I thought you were going to say sex.
No.
Greatest.
You already said genitals earlier, and I
Sauna
felt
sex
uncomfortable. No, we use the sauna as like a social tool, like just as an example, not to make a sad example, but one of our dear friends lost his parent recently, and he and Kelly just sat in the sauna for an hour and a half, and they talked and connected and processed, and it just was, it's a phone free. You can't bring your phone in there, so it's just this lovely place to actually have some human connection, and whether that's with your spouse or your friends or whoever. So it's just like one of the things we love about the sauna. So how about you come down and sit in the sauna, and we won't even make you go in the pool. Both of you guys.
Is that a burger place still next to you guys?
No, it went out of business.
God damn, that place was good.
I know. And you were on the wall.
Grass-fed, grass-finished beef. That was awesome.
Wait, you're on the wall? For what? What'd you do?
They put like a picture of me squatting or something on there.
It was you guys came in one time, and then she took a photo, and they were like, world champions eat Wheezy's burgers.
Yeah.
And they had like a fat chicken was like their logo or something.
Yeah.
Of course, it's called Wheezy's. That's the way you used to breathe.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's all I could hear. Andrew, I sent you over a clip. We got like more of the scientific facts on the cold plunging. Andrew,
yeah, Huberman says that
this is from a guy that's in Huberman's lab, I think.
Oh God, hold on.
I just saw research that came out around cold water. They put military in the cold water, and guys had better sex. They had better subjective perceived readiness. So some of this is just can be entertainment. I think Michael Easter wrote a great book called The Comfort Crisis.
Yep.
And there's a reason, like being a little bit uncomfortable, disrupting homeostasis is good for us. I think it's why some people don't like exercise. It's uncomfortable. So any way where we can find ourselves to be uncomfortable a little bit, I think, die a little bit every day. That's, getting cold is simple.
I think here's our clip.
Plunge probably 2 or 3 times a day sometimes. What I like to do is really keep my body guessing, and I'll just find somewhere to plunge naturally. If I'm walking out on a hike and I see a creek, it's cold outside, the creek's cold, I'll jump in and hit a plunge, See, the benefits to cold plunging are
Oh my God, I love his hair. I'm obsessed with his hair.
Where'd them sound go?
Oh, hey, is it still going?
cold plunge.
My bad.
Your body's guessing on multiple levels. I actually created my own method for cold plunging. I call it iso plunge, and what I do is isolate a body part in the cold. So you can do a hand at a time.
Science.
You can do a foot at
Science.
a time. You can actually do it at home if you just open the freezer.
Look at his arms in the
door.
freezer.
I actually think I read somewhere that if you cold plunge regularly, you don't really even have to watch your diet or your exercise because your body's
He's
going to
got all the facts right there.
Trying to stay warm. Yeah, I'll hit a plunge.
How do you guys,
Love this guy.
You've heard of how it affects inflammation, so like post-lifting cold plunging. How do you guys feel about that? Because some people are fighting against people cold plunging because of that partially.
Yeah,
I
Kelly.
would say that Huberman says, no, we actually started to realize that cold was blunting the body's response to adaptation. Mm-hmm. So it's blunting the adaptation response. So if you're trying to have, and we started to see this in a lot of our professional soccer teams, Premier Soccer, they were keeping some of the cold water immersion as far enough away from the training as they could so that the athlete could have a natural response. We could maximize that and then get cold. So getting cold first thing in the morning when they've overnight sleep, they were finding, and they were using it sort of periodizing the cold. Yeah. Sometimes they'd put it in, sometimes they'd want to wait on it. I think for the average person, if you can get cold and it's something you enjoy, do it when it works for you. Mm-hmm. But if you're trying to get really strong or you're trying to change some aspect of your physiology and that cold water immersion maybe limits that, in some way, because that's really the limiting factor, then maybe you need to, again, just put it a little bit further away.
Yeah.
I think the only exception to that is we have athletes like at the CrossFit Games who are, it's 100 degrees there and their core temperature is really high. So jumping in to drop your core temperature after a hot run might be a really good way to speed up your ability to recover, because you're not spending all that energy cooling. You're spending that energy recovering. Again, I think we're like, well, I'm elite. I'm a 50-year-old middle-aged mountain bike guy with a fake knee. Like, you know, I'll keep my cold plunge away from my 5 squats with 60 kilos. Don't want to blunt my adaptation. Like, you know, I think we're a little precious.
Yeah.
What has been a message that maybe has been hard for you guys, like where you communicate it to people, but it seems like they're having a hard time to adapt to it? Is it the changing of eating more protein? Is it the sleep? Like, where do you find most people are just even with all the suggestions and saying like, hey, make your living room your kind of mobility area? Like, what do you think most people are struggling to actually adopt?
I'm sure Kelly will have an idea, but I think what I think, and it is also a challenge in our regular business, the Ready State, is to get people to care now about their range of motion. You know, as you guys both know, a lot of people find us because they get injured. And that's sort of their first foray into, you know,
or they've got pain that's limiting them from doing something.
Yeah, the pain that's they're injured or pain's limiting them. And you know, and I think this book is one of the ways we're trying to do this is to, you know, teach people to care before they're injured or before they're, you know, suffering from chronic pain. And so I think we hope we've taken a swing for the fences here with this book to try to make it really accessible and relatable and explain to people why they should care and why they should care about spending some time working on their range of motion even when they're 30 years old. Not just because you want to sit with your grandchild when you're 67, but because you know now it's going to, you know, reap a lot of benefits for your athletic performance or reduce your chances of injury or make sure you're pain-free. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to do it now at any age. But I think that's the biggest challenge is people kind of know they should care about nutrition and sleep, and you know, breathing is becoming more of a thing with Wim Hof and it's become kind of hip, so people are sort of aware of it, but I think it's getting people to care about their range of motion and really care about working on it now, because a lot of it is use it or lose it.
Range of motion, maybe even in just a sense of like being able to do most of the things that you're
And that's exactly what I mean.
Without pain.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I were to describe like what mobility is, to me, mobility is the ability to move freely and do the things you want to do without pain. I mean, to me, that's
And someone says, hey, let's play some volleyball, and you don't tear your Achilles tendon.
Exactly. Like you want to be able to do that off the couch, or you want to be able to go on a rafting trip with your family if that's what you're going to do this summer or whatever. You just want to be able to do what you want to do physically. So to me, that's what mobility actually is. What, you know, a lot of the things we do are mobilizations, which are, you know, soft tissue techniques and other mobilizations that help support mobility. But to me, that's really what mobility is to be able to do what you want to do with your body.
When you said decreased risk of injury, I know there's someone who literally got triggered when you said that, because they're like, well, no, increased range of motion won't absolutely decrease your risk of injury.
Right. It's not an absolute. I'll let Kelly take that one.
Because people always say that shit.
So this is where the semantics fall apart. You can't do anything to decrease injury risk. Because if I tackle you and put your knee through the floor, right, you can't, doesn't matter how much sleep you got.
Yeah.
But we know, turns out that there are these levels where we start to see things like kids during finals at high school suffer higher injury rates because they're sleep deprived. So at some point we have to make a logic connection. Okay, maybe that doesn't necessarily that you're going to get injured if you get a bad night's sleep. But population, there's something that we can control for in these behaviors. Range of motion actually turns out to be one of those things that we can control for. And it's really funny because, you know, you're absolutely right. Some people be like, you can't prevent injury risk.
You can't prevent injury.
Or I can't predict injury. But one of the things that I can do is say what? If I can give you better access to your position, I can have better biomotor output.
Yes.
So we're always hanging our head not on injury reduction. We're hanging our hat on, we think you can go faster and be more durable if you have access to your native range. But what's really funny about that conversation is someone's arguing for incomplete range of motion. No, your steering wheel doesn't need to turn all the way to the left. I guarantee you can totally drive your car if it only turns to the right. You're going to have to back up, go forward, back up, like those old remote control cars that only, reversed in one direction. all we're advocating for is being able to do what every physician, every orthopedist says your body should be able to do. Put your arms over your head. Is that really a dangerous idea of having the normal rotation of your hip or having full dorsiflexion in your ankle? That's the thing you want to hang your hat on, that you shouldn't be able to do that? Because that's all we're trying to do is get people back to baseline.
Yeah. And one thing that you kind of notice is like, I see a lot of coaches when they get triggered over the decreased risk of injury thing.
Yeah, wrong conversation.
It's within strength sports.
Yeah.
That, like, you know, when we're talking about people in the population, you want people to be able to have that range of motion. But why do you guys think that lifters need to maybe think about this, even as they're within their sport of powerlifting? Olympic lifters tend to have better range, but like within these sports,
to have better range. Excuse me.
They do. Okay, yeah, they do. They do. But like,
God, man.
But why should these athletes start concentrating on this now? Because it seems to be something that you realize you need it in the future, but not right now within your sport.
One of our friends, mutual friends, Laura Phelps, right? Great powerlifter. She was a gymnast, level 9 gymnast. Ooh. Really good gymnast as a kid. And she came in and started getting strong. And she could access these crazy positions, and she was super strong. And then she actually told me, she's like, you know what, I didn't do anything because my shapes were so good. I didn't have to work on it. And all of a sudden, they went away because she got super stiff. And they went away, and it started to change how she was lifting under high load. And subsequently, she was having some pain. And that's and Mark was like, hey, can you talk to my friend Laura? And I was like, happily. And we jumped on the phone, gave her a couple ideas. Boom, she set a world record. I think one of the things is when we tell people these shapes matter, they matter under specific conditions. And those conditions, the only conditions I give a crap about are high load and high speed. Because you can do a lot very load. In fact, a lot of the physical therapists love to point to powerlifters and rounded backs and just, and I'm like, look, ready to be triggered, everybody? Squatting is a low power movement. It's low power, high force, low power. Yeah. And you can get away with murder at low power until you can't, until that foot is turned out, you can't squat down, you get pinned in a weird position.
Yeah, Andrew, see if you can, I sent you a video of Chad Ikes. Do you have that video?
I do now.
So people have seen me do my fall, and we can maybe bring that one up too. But here's a difference of having great mobility versus not having great mobility. This is Chad Ikes. I want to say, I don't remember the weight that this was, but
it looks like a lot.
Chad started to push like 1,200 pounds. I think he finished his powerlifting career with a 1221 squat. Very strong guy. And he was known for being like really mobile. I don't know if have you ever met Chad? Have you ever seen him before? Yeah, he worked a lot on his mobility, but he falls with this weight here. Ooh. And you know what happened to him after that?
Nothing. He got up and did it again.
Yeah, nothing. He didn't finish the meet because he did get his stomach got stretched. Yeah, his stomach. He was like, I feel something weird.
I don't know if you know this, but that's what happens when you bail with 1,200 pounds on your back. It's a dynamic mobility tool.
Yeah, exactly.
You only have to do one.
A little stretch.
Yeah. He's
it's
like,
a little stretch.
I felt a little something in my stomach. Anyway, he came back and he squatted 1221, which I think was a record at the time. And here's what happened to me when I fell with my weight. And I saw the next one. That was 1,036 or something like that.
Easy weight.
And then this is 1,085. And this wrecked me for months. Maybe it's a different meat.
No,
this is not the one.
That might
definitely the meat though.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you might have found something. You might have found something different.
Oh, my bad.
What we see is we can make that the physiology starts to become very clear at high speed. And I think we can say to people, you can get away with a lot under low speed. But the physiology, the body organizing itself, these patterns really start to aggregate. Franz Bosch is one of my favorite coaches. There's a couple great books out. Anatomy of Agility is his last book. But in there, he has a quote. He says, there's more variation in waltzing than there is in sprinting. At low load and artistic, you can do a lot and get away with a lot. You can walk however you want. But when it's time to go fast and add the speed component, those shapes don't often transfer or take force or generate force from those less effective positions. And so ultimately, what we can start to have a conversation about reasonably is this shape gives me more choice. This shape transfers to new skills.
Yeah, if you back that up just for a second there, Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
This shape allows me to generate more power.
And here's my fall. So somebody that's not mobile I got, it's just slightly different circumstances, but we fell similarly, right?
Yeah.
And I was wrecked for months and months and months on end.
But look at your thigh gap, though. It's really impressive.
So, somebody having more mobility, I know sometimes people are like, well, I don't want more mobility because all I want to be able to do is just the actual drill. But I mean, you and I were communicating at this time, and we were talking about it. And I was doing some stuff to try to address some of those things.
And this is a really good point, because this is an accident, right? This is trauma,
right?
And what we're trying to do is say, hey, I was having this conversation around dorsiflexion with a world-class sprints coach named Stuart McMillan, who at the time was coaching Andre DeGrasse, who's the Olympic gold medalist. He was the heir apparent to Usain Bolt, and he was like, hey, man. My sprinters only need 0 degrees of dorsiflexion. When they hit the ground, I want them to have 0. I want them to be stiff at 90 degrees, so their ankle's at 90. And I was like, totally agree with you. He's like, everyone's obsessed with dorsiflexion. I'm like, totally agree with you. I was like, does your athlete go down the stairs? He's like, well, yes. And I was like, we need more than that. So how does he solve that problem? He starts turning the foot out, starts bringing his knee in, starts collapsing his arch. Does he squat? Does he train for his sport? And he was like, well, I guess he does. And I was like, so you need dorsiflexion to do enough training. So how much dorsiflexion do you need? You need enough where you can solve the problem in a way that transfers and where you don't start competing with the primary movement pattern. So if you're turning your feet out to solve this problem, that's a less effective way to run. You might hit the ground with your foot straight and the foot might spin and da-da-da, right? Dave Weck, I'm not trying to trigger you. But the idea is if you do a triple jump, you're going to land with the foot pretty straight in that peak impulse. And when we see kind of force production, we're going to start to see that there's less of this and feet start to get straighter into this range because those positions transfer more effectively under speed. So again, what's nice is instead of saying, don't do that, you might get injured, we say do this because it'll allow you to pick up new skills more effectively and it transfers to other movements and maybe it protects you because you had enough hip flexion and rotation.
And then some people listening, they might be like, wait, I think we just got way off a path because now we're getting super technical, but the technical piece is like, what if you want to go play golf with your friends on a weekend? Or what if you run into so many of these people that play recreational sports and they're like, man, I'm tearing my knee apart when I'm playing golf. And then maybe they might need to look into some of the things that you're mentioning right there to help them have better positioning.
My biggest fear as an adult man is to tear my Achilles. And I obsessively jump rope and work on my feet, and I'm barefoot, and I push sleds barefoot, and I load the crap out of my Achilles so that I don't go. The most dangerous sport used to be basketball for middle-aged people, and now it's pickleball. Because you're like, I can play pickleball.
His Achilles tendon. He's a firefighter. And he was playing in what's called the Pig Bowl, which is the cops versus the firefighters, and it's supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah.
Super fun.
But what sport was it? Pickleball?
Football.
Oh, football.
Wait, they called it the Pig Bowl?
We call it the Pig Bowl. Yeah, on purpose.
That's funny.
So that's that idea of, what's the mechanism where you're like, it was just fluky. Well, like, was it fluky? Like, did you actually eat any collagen or protein? Did you have ankle range of motion? How healthy were your tissues? Show me your loading.
Yeah.
Have you slept? Did you put that leg in hip extension ever and load your Achilles in hip extension?
When's the last time you sprinted?
Yeah.
So if you haven't sprinted in a long time, now you're trying to sprint. That's not a great thing. You need to prepare for. But we can't
predict that injury. We can't predict that.
No, we had Kaylee Humphreys, Olympic many gold medalist, bobsleigh.
The GOAT.
She's the GOAT. Out visiting us maybe 6 months ago or something, and obviously she's an amazing sprinter. And Kelly was talking about like, hey, so how would you think I'd fare? Like if I just, like outright sprinted against you? And she was like, oh, well, you'd tear your adductor off the bone, like given. So, Kelly's like, all right, I guess I won't try that.
I like to run. I dabble with running, and I was running barefoot on.
Dabble.
I was running barefoot on a soccer field where daughters are playing, and I had some time, and I recorded myself sprinting, just doing some speed, some tempo up a little bit. Yeah. And I sent it to my world-class sprint friend. And I was like, how's my running looking? He's like, that's not running. And he's like, you're waddling. And I was like, oh, well, that's fair. and really is that this speed is the ultimate arbiter of the forces on your body. And I think ultimately the reason we should be caring about how the best athletes in the world work within their physiologies is that it tells us about what we might do in our day-to-day lives to have more abundance and resilience in the system. Because I crashed on my skis on the weekend when we filmed the shoe video. That was when I just deadlifted a bunch with you, and I crashed on my skis and put my femur through my tibia, but I didn't tear anything. And I was able to recover from that big surgery because I had so much money in the
We
bank.
deadlifted with chains.
With chains.
Yes,
it
we
was back
did.
in the chains
That was
days.
the chains days.
It was in the chains day. Well, I just wanted to add, speaking of the golfer, and one of the things we're really trying to do with this book is that, people are bummed when they are sidelined, because when they can't do the thing they want to do, man, talk about depression and loneliness. I mean, really, like I think people forget, in advance how much the things that they do physically are also connected to how they connect with others and create community. And so when people are sidelined, it's a huge deal and a huge loss in their life. And, prevent injury, whatever, but like you've got to put a little input in your body, because you don't want to get sidelined, or, and maybe we'll all get sidelined. Kelly had this catastrophic knee situation and obviously was sidelined for a little while, but it's like you want to get sidelined as little as possible, and you want to be as durable as possible when you do, because you're going to recover so much more quickly.
By the way, I injured myself skiing at 60 miles an hour. It wasn't from squatting, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Why are you going so fast?
It's a good question.
Right?
That was dumb. I would like to take that back.
He was like racing a stranger.
Look at me. Shh.
I'm not supposed to tell anyone that because he's embarrassed.
It's probably like a
not
kid.
We need to edit
I'm
that
not
out.
supposed to tell anyone because he's embarrassed, but I'm always like, fun point of fact, you were racing a stranger.
That's not the important question.
Probably a kid who
'Cause
laughed at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
No. Did I win?
May I
Kids like
remind
that
you,
old guy probably died up there.
He did win.
Wait, but did you win?
I won.
He won.
But I really lost.
He ultimately he lost. I sometimes try to remind Kelly, I'm like, hey, you are stuck in a man's body. Like, you do things.
It's not the body, it's the problem, babe.
Well, whatever it is.
What you got over there, Andrew?
That's just, it reminds me of like a real Clark Griswold moment. You remember those movies?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so like when he's like always trying to race somebody on the street or whatever. But no, my question is kind of going back to the foot stuff is what's your take on toe spreaders?
I think toe spreaders in the evening can be a really useful tool to restore what your feet should be doing, especially if you've been cramming your feet into shoes. When I was 20, I went to Nepal and did this big trek up to Everest Base Camp. We did like 26 days in the mountains, and there were these porters who were carrying 80 kilos on their back, and they were barefoot. And their feet looked like triangles. So the heel was back, but their feet were so wide and none of their toes touched. And every time they took a step, the toes touched the ground. So they were carrying these huge loads barefoot in the mountains, and they had these feet. And I remember being like, whoa, that's weird. So toe spreader is a great way to recover your feet, especially if you're having to use a shoe that does what? That compromises your foot function. So again, all tools are valuable. When am I going to do it? How useful? If I have to wear a cute shoe and then, I'm a climber or I wear a soccer shoe, great recovery. Even Olympic lifting shoes aren't necessarily designed for your foot function.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you guys, I don't think like Kelly may have broken the internet a few times, but he broke the internet the most when he was like, sorry, people, you can't wear flip-flops. I mean, whatever on all the other ways that, he's like
the
made
video
people
with
mad.
Brian McKenzie from a million years
like
ago.
if that's the number one, like people freaked out. They were like, it was as though, I don't know. It was hard.
It wasn't hard because I was right.
Can you reiterate the flip-flop thing, though? Because I don't think
people got
people
mad.
have seen that.
They got actually mad.
All right, everyone. Look, here's the deal. If you're going to the bathroom on a gas station in the middle of a long drive, definitely feel free to wear flip-flops. And what we see here with these flip-flops is, and I got married in flip-flops before I knew. I just want you to know.
Yeah, people are going to pull up old pictures. Be like, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Liar.
Yeah. If there's any of those photos on the internet, someone's going to find them.
So remember what we said is I'm trying to not change my function at all. I'm trying to have shoes and clothes that like just allow me to my body to do what it should do. So in order to keep the flip-flop on, you have to just clench your big toe. And that changes how you walk, because as soon as that toe can't flex, you actually can't make your foot do what your foot is designed to do. As you walk and that big toe flexes, that flexible plantar fascia everyone hates becomes a rigid spring.
Yeah.
And that allows you to transfer energy and use energy from your calf to propel yourself forward. So if you clench that big toe, you've created an artificially rigid foot, super rigid foot. Talk to anyone who has turf toe and they can't walk through their big toe. And that they end up walking around. So now if your toe is super stiff, you end up solving that problem by walking through your foot, not around your foot, rather than sort of using your ankle and using your toes the way they should be. And what you start to see is that arch and foot starts to lose some of its integrity. It loses its spring. It starts to kind of collapse a little bit. And if you see in cultures where people are barefoot, their feet look rad. And in cultures where they were flip-flops, they don't look as good. In fact, in Hawaii, they call it island feet. There's actually a phenomenon for people who wear slippers all the time. Their feet tend to be just look like they've been created this rigid thing. Go ahead and sprint in the flip-flop and let me know how that goes for you. So again, I say to you, if we add speed to this, how does that work?
There is that one video that's been going around about that really good runner who runs in like every kind of shoe, including a flip-flop. Have you seen that thing? Have you seen that video?
Yeah.
He does he's a really good, technically good runner, and he runs in like every kind of shoe, including like some weird boots and weird trippy stuff. Anyway, it's a good video. Are you guys ready to secondhand experience the hatred that is don't wear flip-flops?
How about this? It's not the limiting factor. Maybe it shouldn't be your primary shoe. Again, if it
Look how reasonable you've become.
Wear some sandals.
Yeah, if it has a back, you're good to go. So any shoe that has a back, any slipper or anything that has a back, you're good to go.
Yeah, he used to be a lot more blunt.
Yeah.
He'd be like, take those off. Real athletes don't wear those.
Yeah, exactly.
Drink water.
Yeah. I mean, look what's
Real
happened to
athletes
us.
drink water. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What is that? What are you drinking?
Yeah, I tell you what, my skin is just scarred. I can't take the hate anymore. Sorry, everybody. I was wrong. I was so mean.
What's up, Power Project family? It's time to stop dressing like you're a fucking preschooler and step your game up by checking out Vuori clothing. Now, I'm not one to talk. I wear a fucking pink hat that has a dog on it, but at the end of the day, at least my shirt and shorts are popping. So head to Vuori because they have great stuff for your top and your bottom. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, you guys got to head over to vuori.com/power project. That's VUORI.com/power project, and you guys will automatically receive 20% off your order. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Let's get back to the podcast.
We were actually talking about Myofascial release in the gym, and we didn't talk about it much here, but I do wonder, for some people who are getting into it, as Mark has been sharing some stuff on his Instagram, if they do find points that are painful, like let's say they're rubbing on a ball or whatever, and it's like, oh, this hurts. Should they avoid it? What should they pay more attention to?
Put it in the closet, never touch it again. If you push on a part of your body, that's painful. And this is actually something we talk about. We have a first aid kit in the book because we feel like if something is hurting, again, your brain, your message of pain in your brain is a request for change. That's the way to think about it. It doesn't mean tissue trauma. I mean, if there's a bone sticking out of your leg, that's the problem, right? But oftentimes, if you discover a painful area, you don't realize that you can make that area feel better by dropping into isometrics, by relaxing, teaching yourself to be, active in that position, by incorporating some breathing strategies. So if you find a spot that you're rolling on and it hurts, stop. You found the spot. You don't need to go anywhere. This is what we're looking for. And you can pause there and just take a 4-second inhale, contract for 4 seconds, relax for 8 seconds as you exhale, and stay on that until that changes. So as a therapist, we say things like, let's mobilize until we make change or until we stop making change. So if I'm trying to get something done and I'm doing a manual technique on you, I'm going to go until I actually get the result, or I'm going to change until I get the result. And then I'll keep working until the results stop. That seems reasonable. We start squatting, and then I stop having a good adaptation because I can only squat 700 pounds so many times in a day, right? So even that sort of makes sense. And then what ends up happening then is that, what have we done? Well, we've changed how the brain is interacting or perceiving the tissues. We've changed the local tissue physiology. We've hydrated it. We've changed how the muscle functions. We've got blood flow in there. The bottom line, though, is, did it change your range of motion? Did it allow you to generate more force? Those are the magic. If it has less pain, that's a benefit.
Good.
Why do you think some people... when he's given advice, like he can give a lot of advice and people are in pain and people are desperate. Why do you think sometimes there's not follow through, like in your opinion, because since you've seen it firsthand happen so many times?
Well, I've seen I will say there is follow through among the injured or people in pain who are able to make change. I mean, I think that we have a lot of people who have a light bulb moment when, Kelly literally tells them like, hey, they come with knee pain. And I mean, I can't tell you, even to this day, we will get emails that have like 10 paragraphs where someone's describing their entire medical history. They've seen every specialist on earth for their knee pain. And then it actually starts to become part of their identity. Like knee pain is their identity. They're like, I'm a knee pain person. And I've accepted that knee pain is what I'm going to experience the rest of my life. And to have Kelly actually be able to give them some really simple tools like mobilizing upstream and downstream of your knee and feeding some slack into your knee and actually experiencing a change in their pain or their function. I think it's really remarkable for people. I think, and I think a lot of people come into it really skeptically. I think they're like, okay, I'm going to do these like 5 things Kelly told me to do with the foam roller or whatever, a ball or a tool or whatever. I think, people do come in skeptically, but I will say once they experience some change, people are sold. And so, unfortunately, it does seem like the most adherent are those who have experienced an injury, have been able to figure out how to solve it on their own, or not an injury, but whatever, pain, you name it. Just they've been able to solve a problem, and as a result have been able to do the things they want to do and move better. Those are the greatest adherent. And again, I think it goes back to the question about you asked earlier about what's the challenge. It's still the challenge of, getting people who aren't in pain, aren't experiencing an injury to want to care now and put a little care and feeding into the system in terms of taking care of their body. I mean, I think that's the crew.
A lot of people didn't stretch or stop stretching because they didn't even see a benefit from it. Like it just seemed like a waste of time. Mm-hmm. I used to tell my coach, I'm pre-stretched. Fine. Like, what you want me to touch my toes? I can do that. I can sprint cold. Never made the case that I could work harder, I could feel better, that I could improve my times. Like as soon as we make it about something that someone cares about, then they're in it. So that's our failure, around this. And, if it's just, every once in a while there's a group of people like mobilizations are not my thing. They're just a set of tools to restore position. Training and positions and shapes, that's what I get involved in to help people sort out. And so there's just this set of tools that you're like, I'm anti-tool. I'm like, okay, well, what tools are you using to solve this set of problems in your athletes? Mm-hmm. Moving more, that's a great tool. But oftentimes there's still a physiotherapist on your team. I noticed that every professional soccer team has 5 physiotherapists on their team. Why is that? Do you think that they're dumb and wasting their time? Is that what it is? So if you can come up with one reason why this works, like I've heard some people who are super anti-mobility or anti-mobilization, some they're like, well, maybe it allows you to spend time in positions you wouldn't touch normally. I'm like, okay, great. So you just lost the whole argument, right? So, and more importantly, if that's for you, the thing that allows you to spend time in shapes, cool. I think that's really okay. I think you can have multiple bottom lines, but the bottom line comes back to, does it facilitate you working harder in your sport? I can usually show you that there's a net positive for that. And again, it may not be rolling around on a foam roller.
Well, one of the things we're trying to, or one of the things we've been seeing about this book is we're trying to frame it as like a 401k for your body, right? Because you're 30 and you again, like Kelly and I are 50 and we're starting to think about like, what do we want to be able to do when we're 75? You're not.
That's actually Mark Bell. People don't know that. That's
Mark Bell.
You can see it right here. We took the whole idea.
Which line though?
But it's like, we all do a lot of things now in our life where you don't, it's not immediate gratification, right? Like you put money in your 401k and it's gone, and you hope and assume you're going to have it later when you actually retire.
Neither one of these guys are good with money, so you might have to use a different example.
You guys should start a 401k. We could talk about that afterwards. But we just think about this as a 401k for your body, right? Like for people who don't
get yourself a J-Star.
I'm available for advising on that later. Financial success. Anyway, so that's how we like to think about it. We want people to think about like, hey, I saved money and I don't care. I don't get any benefit from it now, and so taking care of your body a little bit, putting some input into your body now is going to reap dividends later in your life.
Are listening to this podcast, you're not the person we're talking to. We're talking to your family. Mm. You're already into all of this stuff. You're into the weird shoes. You're into the creepy stuff. You're like you do weird stuff. You stuffed me into a suit so I could squat more. Like I was into it. Like that's weird.
Yeah, you were really stuck in that suit.
I don't know. I disagree. There's a lot of power lifters listening to this podcast, and some power lifters I think could stand to
Sure, all three of them. That's great.
Put some input into their body.
So, but the idea here is we think that you're already the node for so much information in your community. You tell people, you give people ideas around training and nutrition and sleep. But really, our athletes have the real chance to change their communities and society. They already do, right? They're inspiring their friends to lift. They're eating differently. They're talking about nutrition. They're getting blood panels. That's all coming from sport. And this is an easy way for you to become a super node for people who aren't going to exercise, but who are starting to think about, hey, I want to be able to do all the things I want to do.
What do you think's missing in fitness? Like, what's the gap in fitness at the moment? Do you think there's something missing from your average gym goer just going and practicing some bodybuilding and some powerlifting?
That's great. If that's what you're into, that's great. Don't hold that up and say, this is the way to go win a gold medal in this sport, or this is the way to become the best runner. Like, I think that's, if someone's doing that, they're not the person we're worried about. Whether they're, whatever they're eating or how.
I disagree. I feel like a lot of those people are exercising and that's the only thing they're doing. Right? But that's not going to make them a durable human.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that necessarily, that their sleep is ordered.
Yeah.
All those things. We're hiding a lot of dysfunction. We're keeping a lot behind because we're exercising. Like there were a lot of people who were running marathons, but stopped running and became diabetic because they were eating so much sugar and they were fueling with so much carbohydrate and goos and gels. And they did that and then they stopped running and then they became diabetic, pre-diabetic very quickly. It was the exercise that was keeping that at bay. You cannot train a poor diet. We know that. People are hearing that. They've heard that forever. Now I think people are starting to realize that there are other components to, performance in the gym, whether that's aesthetics, which is totally fine. But I think the real mistake is that we've held that up and we said that this is enough if you're a bodybuilder, you're going to be great at athletics. Did you guys watch Physical 100?
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun. I think the thing we're missing, though, is we haven't given people these objective measures, which is what we've been trying to do in this book. We're trying to say, hey, look, okay, yes, you need exercise, but we haven't really, there's too much confusion around how much, what to do, when, for how long, whether you should do this, whether it should be high intensity, low intensity, running, walking. Like, we haven't given people a quantifiable way to actually take a measurement of where they are and where they should be.
I agree with what you're saying, because I think a lot of people, sometimes they look at your average gym goer and they're like, I don't think that's for me. I don't think it's the right place to go. And they see people maybe go too far down that path. There's also just the idea of, like, most of the stuff that we do in the gym, most of the lifting that we do in the gym, unless we start to get really creative, there's not a lot of reaction.
That's right.
There's not a lot of sport or anything. So that's kind of what I meant with the question of like what's sort of missing in fitness.
It's incomplete.
I think a lot of the stuff you have in your book alludes to some of these things. These are like fundamental things of being able to do some of these mobility tests and balancing and things like that.
Yeah, and play. Like, I think we're missing a lot of play. Like, I feel like every time I come here to the gym, I mean, I've literally never done like a real workout here ever. I just like mess around on machines and play and try your tools, and and it's like just that play I think is missing, and just also having the capacity to be able to do it. Like, one of the things Kelly and I love to do is throw the Frisbee. I don't know why we love throwing a Frisbee, but it's like, well, we want to be able to like walk out of our garage onto the street in bare feet and be able to like throw the Frisbee for half an hour, because we get a lot of joy out of that without like worrying about tearing our Achilles.
Throwing a Frisbee is like a real skill, like to be able to play catch with the Frisbee.
Yeah.
Like to just let her rip or whatever, you can do that. But like to actually
it's
figure
actually
out.
One of our tests of your athleticism. Can you go play catch with us with a Frisbee? If you can't throw a Frisbee, I'm like, If you can't double dutch with jump ropes, I'm like, sketchy athlete here.
Yeah, do you guys have double dutch ropes in here?
I will not pick you for my kickball team.
You got to get some. They're so fun.
We don't have double dutch ropes.
They're so fun.
Yeah. Don't know how to jump into it.
Oh, we could teach you.
Okay.
Next time we come back, we're going to bring some.
That's not the skill.
You got to jump really high.
Super high. You do bring something up that we used to train for something. And now training has become an identity, right? It is a self. It's how I identify. It's my friends. It's my social group. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Like my deadlift is for my deadlift.
Yes.
It's for I'm a deadlifter. I'm a power lifter.
It's recursive.
It's your identity.
I do pull-ups so I can do more pull-ups so I can be good at more pull-ups, right? And it just never ends. It's like doomsday prepping, right? Never have enough ammo or deadlift. And if we think of the application for it, look, if you just want to look good naked on Instagram, August, 2022, you won fitness and health, nailed it. Then just retire off with your donuts and your belt. That's just not the real world. Because we work in the application, we are always viewing the gym as, does this make me better? Do these skills transfer? And there's a time for bodybuilding, I want to have strong elbows. So I'm like, hey, we need to do some curls and get you really strong elbows so you don't dislocate your elbow when you're climbing or surfing, right? We can steal all of those tools, but I think powerlifting made it confusing because it was just always heavier weights. And sometimes those things took away from athleticism. Olympic lifting the same. And even aesthetics, we lost the narrative a little bit. And that physical 100, who's the kid who won? Like the CrossFitter who actually had pulled on a rope before, right? I think that's the only trick.
That's the person who won.
Yeah.
I didn't see the last episode.
Track.
Sorry.
It's
Spoiler
okay.
alert.
That's fine.
Notice that the kid who was the track cyclist had a huge aerobic engine and could, put out massive amounts of power.
I was pulling for him.
He
I was pulling for him.
Squat 500 or 600, very strong.
Yeah.
His set of tools did really well. The kid, the beautiful man who couldn't put the ball over his head, right? He was so jacked. And I was like, I want to look like that guy, but I don't want to move like that guy.
Yeah.
Like he struggled. He had 2 minutes.
Physical 100 is a great show, guys, because there's a bunch of CrossFitters, like a few bodybuilders, some wrestlers, and UFC
Athletes
fighters
from all over Korea.
And it's just it's great to see how you're specialized in this, but you're totally lacking with this other area of your fitness.
Yeah,
It's
like
an
there was
amazing show.
the ice climber guy. He did really well in a lot of stuff. The climber, right? Like he was the best on like the rope climb and stuff. But then obviously when he got eliminated, he's like, there's a lot of holes in my fitness.
They're totally going to have a US version of
Notice
this show.
that
They so are.
the track
Maybe
athlete.
you'll be on it, Mark Bell.
The track cycling athlete did really well because his he was an Olympic lifter, track-based athlete, track and field. And the other guy who did really well was a skeleton athlete who did most of his training that looked like classic track and field, which is running, jumping, and throwing.
Yeah.
Running, jumping, and throwing.
It's interesting when it comes to things like that, or when it comes to CrossFit, or I guess there's only there's weight division sports and there's things like gymnastics and like figure skating. But when it comes to the money sports, people are really big. People are just like large human beings.
Yes.
MLB, NBA,
Yes.
NFL, hockey players are massive. Like all these people are really big.
Was anyone mad at that Barry Bonds was taking steroids? No one was mad about it.
Right.
We loved him smashing the ball, and he was jacked.
It's
He
true.
was. But when it comes to having a capacity to, be able to do some of the things we saw in that video from that show, and then from what's that other show where they're going through the challenge and they got the monkey bars and they got
Ninja Warrior?
Ninja Warrior. There you go.
Oh yeah, I was gonna be a
To be able to
survivor.
traverse Ninja Warrior, like good luck being 250. Like it's gonna be very difficult.
That's right. Well, again, what is it you want to do with your body? And I don't know if you know this, but you're not going to be a great swimmer.
Why, Kelly?
You are thick.
Why,
You're
Kelly?
so thick.
Okay.
Mark, you're not going to be a good sprinter. You just don't have the mechanics for it. And
Does that hurt your feelings, both of you guys? Are you feeling sad?
Nah, I've known this.
He still has it in him, the mean side.
Kelly does.
Yeah.
it's mean. It's just tempered.
Well, it's
can I-
coaching though, because
Look.
maybe now he's going to start swimming. And maybe
Somebody
now he's gonna
totally
start sprinting.
just made a funny comment on the swimming thing, though. I love it. I love it.
I didn't even touch it. I'm like, what are we talking about? I think the key here is your body is going to probably push you into a certain set of things that you're really good at, and then you reinforce that. Being capable and strong and durable doesn't necessarily have to match up with any of those things that you're good at. I think CrossFit, for better or for worse, has lost the narrative of a lot of people about why we were training. What's the minimum amount of training I can do so I can have the maximum play? I can go out and be fit enough and strong enough across a bunch of domains so that I can actually do sports. Instead, the gym became the only thing, physical culture. someone like Ido Portal, I think has a right, like some of his reactions to what we're seeing as modern fitness, I think are good. He's like, you're actually not very capable. You don't react. You can't absorb force and spring. You don't know how to interact or fight or apply force. And what you see is you have this huge wattage on the assault bike and you can do the leg press, and that doesn't make you a very competent human being. I think that's a valid criticism of some of these things. And that simultaneously, I'm like, well, if all you do is physical culture and you can't squat or deadlift, that also may mean that you have an opportunity to do a little bit better with your physical culture with some training. Yeah. What's the right amount? I don't know.
Mix it up.
Have you guys started watching that show Alone?
I love it. I watch the show a lot.
Oh yeah, we're like weirdly kind of obsessed with it right now, and I think my big obsession is that I have no skills. I think I could like maybe build the shelter and carry the wood. But
you could write a P&L for all the squirrels.
I could definitely advise the other contestants on setting up and maintaining a 401k. But I have no useful skills for Alone. I mean, do you have any? Like, how would you fare, Mark?
Badly.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do well.
Primitive living.
Yeah.
I'm not even fat adapted. I can't even if I eat a bunch of fat, I get diarrhea, and that's all they eat. I'm this is not.
You would do well like at the just not eating part because you've done a lot of fasting and stuff. Like you do really well at that part.
There was one show where the guy got sick and he was throwing up, he had diarrhea and stuff. I'm like, even just that, like you're out, like you're done. Like,
wait, that was when you went carnivore. That's why.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just thinking like that would be like. Okay, it's one thing to have that at home, right? And you got all the amenities that you need to clean yourself up. You can hop in your shower and use your shower head, and like you can do all kinds of stuff to get yourself clean. But if you're out there in the wilderness and it's 20 degrees and it's windy, and
you shat your sleeping bag.
I'm just thinking like he could go in the water, but he kind of can't because he's gonna get so fucking cold. He's got to wash all of his. Think of the logistics. He's got to wash all his clothes. He's got to wash himself.
Then he has to dry them in front of a fire and
choice, man. Choice.
Yeah. Sorry, that doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I was like, I bet Mark Bell's watching Alone.
I do. I love that show.
Yeah.
So you guys are on a book tour?
Yep. This is stop one.
Nice.
I love that.
Out April 4th, we'll actually be on Good Morning America.
No way.
Launching on April 4th in New York City. Yeah,
nice.
It's happening. We're starting to roll, and we'll see what happens. What's different about this book versus some other books is that we have a book agent who knows people, who introduced us to the people at Knopf, which is a huge old school New York publishing company. And for the first time in ever, we feel like we are on the right team with the right people.
Yeah.
Super fun. We'll see if anyone notices.
I'm curious about this. What are because CrossFit was a really good thing because it's a community-based thing. When people go to the gym, they usually go to the gym alone, and it's not something that draws you in within a community unless you're at a certain gym. Jiu-jitsu's been pretty great, as Andrew's noticed too, because you made a ton of new friends at your jiu-jitsu school, and it's like you're doing this. All these different types of movements that you're not used to with a community. So what are other things that you think people could get involved in outside of powerlifting and bodybuilding? That would be a good way to, have recreational fitness and enjoy the community aspect of it.
One of the ways that we have solved, Juliet has a training group of women she gets together with Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They train no matter what. Right? It doesn't matter if you
follow it on your Instagram.
That's right. If you're beat up, doesn't matter. You just show up and you just do what you can do. We also have a mountain bike club that meets in front of our house on Saturdays. And we're all just, various sizes and abilities. There's some pros like me, and then there's some people who are less fast than me. And we actually have actual pros there. But, the key is, I think, is what is it you like to do? And then who are those people? You're right. The gym can be a really isolating, lonely place. And it's even more confusing because people are like, I'm putting my headphones on, ignore me, but ignore me filming myself for my Instagram feed. That's super weird. It's not weird that you want to film yourself. I've been filming myself for years, right? To see what's going on. But the interaction, those places are lonely. This is a great opportunity to reach across and be like, hey man, can I work in a squat? What are you doing today?
I don't know if this actually really answers your question, but I just want to sort of emphasize what Kelly said. And I think it talks a little bit about, it sort of points to what we talked about earlier with constraining environments. I mean, my little workout schedule is a constrained environment. We have a set time. It's the same time. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7:30 in the morning, we show up and train. So no planning has to take place.
Because you grew up without a cell phone?
Maybe, but no plan. We don't have to text and say, is anyone coming? Is this still a good time? Where are we going to meet? None of that. It's just you show up because it's a set thing. Like it's not even on the calendar. Like
It's like a goddamn PTA meeting.
It's like a goddamn PTA meeting. And same thing with our mountain bike club. Like it's at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. Like everyone's invited 9 a.m. But there's no planning. There's no discussion. It's just happening. Like whoever's in town and available shows up. And I think that's just, I think people can do that with whatever they like to do outside the gym, whether it's like if you're into hiking or walking or whatever. It's just like set up a time. Like say, I'm going to be walking the neighborhood at this time.
Olympic lifting clubs. There were clubs where people came, and in between, you just sit down and talk. Like that's the power of Olympic lifting club. Powerlifting communities. Juliet was just telling someone else. I just overheard this conversation. She's like, powerlifters are the kindest people I've ever met. They
so
nice. Need each other. They're generous. They help each other out because you have to, and it creates that and fosters that community of athleticism. I think in Europe there are all kinds of clubs. Go to Thailand and everyone's got a boxing gym, right? A Muay Thai gym. And so I think what you're seeing is these sports are a great reason to organize people. So find something you like. And if you feel like going to the gym is isolating, it is.
Yeah, but like be the node, find something you like to do and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this thing every day at this time. And like, please join me. And people will come because people need a little structure and they need an invite and they want to hang out with other people.
What's a recommendation for lifting, for resistance training?
You should do some.
Yeah, we really we have the idea that never do nothing is this concept from Dave Spitz that you always can go and do a set of push-ups. You can do a set of air squats. I mean, at the peak when we were our most busy selves, I did the 10-10-10 at 10, which was I'd roll.
It was like when we were filming the mobility project too. You guys remember that?
10 minutes at 10 p.m. It was like 10 pull-ups, 10 kettlebell swings, 10 push-ups, 10 minutes, 10 p.m. That was what I had. I was like, well, check the box today. And, do people not get the message that they should resistance train? No, I think they're getting the message. You can buy kettlebells. I just saw bumper plates at Target. So
Damn.
That's some upside down, the upside down shit. That's crazy that you can buy bumper plates at Target. So something's happened. I think the Olympic lifting clubs and powerlifting clubs were a lot of people's basements. Those were the truest amateur sports for a minute. And I think that's starting to happen a little bit where we're starting to see more and more people realizing that the best place they can work out is in their own homes. So more of that.
So just a little resistance training whenever you can get it, whatever way you can get it. If you have a slack block, if you can do some squats onto a chair.
Yeah, I'd like keep a kettlebell in your living room and do some kettlebell swings.
If we had
whatever.
a kettlebell in every kitchen in America, we could cure a lot of problems. You got to be springy. You got to react. I mean, it solves. You can see why that style of training has been so resilient for so long, and why we get so much out of it. And yes, you may not be able to deadlift 600 if you only swing a kettlebell, but is that really the limiting factor? No, probably not.
I'm not really sure this is for your audience, but now that I am one of those people, I end up communicating a lot with like the menopausal female set. Like late 40s, early 50s women. And I will say that is a group who I think struggles to figure out how to fit in any resistance training in their life because they all grew up in like the 80s, 90s, like just do cardio and eat a low fat diet. Like
women are irrational too.
Yeah, they're also irrational. So I mean, I think that would be like a group of people that I think partly just by the time they grew up and what they learned about fitness that was probably a lot mistaken in the 80s and 90s, or at least just not evolved. I think that's a crew that struggles to, I think they're more apt to like go for a jog.
Yeah.
But I think slowly but surely the message is starting to get out to that subset of women.
And it is classic barbell strength training, floor press, strict standing press, pull up, push up, back squat. You don't like the back squat, front squat, deadlift, like lunge.
Or like we're huge fans of rucking. Like there's just certain people who are never going to lift a weight. They're just like not going to do it. You guys know some of those people like in your neighborhood
Keep with
or whatever.
The classics.
Yeah, like
super
put
classics.
a heavy backpack. Like everyone, you put a heavy backpack on and walk. Like at least you've gotten something.
You just can't say that you're going to win the Olympics with that program.
No, that's not the goal.
And that's always one of my own personal tests. Well, if I did your training only, could I go to the Olympics? And I'm like, oh, it's maybe incomplete.
No, at home I keep it super simple. I have a kettlebell too. I have some of those base blocks, dip bars or whatever. So it's a cross. So whenever we pass by it, do some pull-ups, do some dips, pick the kettlebell, do a little bit of shit. It adds things into.
Is that called
the
a repetition method? You use the same weight over and over and over and over, and then some magic coach is like, today we go heavier. repetition.
So we did an interview for Bay Area Parent. It's like a magazine. And they wanted us to, it was connected to this book, but they wanted us to give like 10 tips for helping your kids and family be more active in the summer. And I think we definitely offered some suggestions that were so not what the journalist was expecting at all. But one of the things we suggested is we're like, everyone should have a pull-up bar like hanging somewhere in their house or their garage or even one of those door ones, because, you know, hanging is a fundamental skill, and you know, everyone should be able to hang, and it's great for your shoulder function. And, you know, there's just a lot of reasons why hanging is great. So everyone should have a pull-up bar, and maybe put it somewhere where you walk, where there's a high traffic part of your house. So every time you go by, you just hang for a second. You need to do pull-ups. Who cares about that? Just go hang.
Yeah.
And we have like pull-up bars everywhere. And in our garage, we have a pegboard, and like literally every kid who comes into our garage goes and tries to do something at the pegboard. And whether they're successful or
it's
not,
a child's
they're like
toy.
drawn to it.
If you're over
They're
100
drawn
kilos,
to
you're
it. So,
excused.
so yeah, I mean, get one of those like cheap like pull-up bars.
One arm
you know?
pull-ups. No,
Yep.
no.
You know those like
106
pull-up
kilos.
bars you can put in your door from Target or whatever? Get one of those and like hang on it sometimes. That's awesome.
Andrew, take us on out of here, buddy.
Alrighty, thank you everybody for checking out today's episode. Please drop those comments down below. Let us know what you guys think about today's conversation. Hit that like button and subscribe if you guys are not subscribed already. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project all over the place. My Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where you at?
And Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Kelly Juliet, where can people find you guys? And the book.
The book is that you can learn more and buy it at builttomove.com. And I'm at Juliet Starrett on Instagram. And you say you.
At the Ready State.
On all the channels.
At Mark Smelly Bell, strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.